All right, welcome into episode 5 of D&D's two-man game. I am Damon. With me, my good friend and co-host, as always, Dom. How are we doing, Dom? How are we doing?
I'm doing great, Damon. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Another Thursday night recording.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone can tell because my lighting is terrible. And we're
Mine
trying.
is my shirt looks like I don't know if it looks like this on your screen. It looks like literally just a black void, like all right
It
here.
does. It does look like a
I'm
void.
like,
If you're
okay,
if you're not watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify,
what are you
make
doing?
sure you what are you doing?
Check
Come
in.
on, check in. Gotta
Open
see what
up,
we're wearing.
subscribe, 5 stars, comment, like, rate, Yelp. We're not on Yelp. We're not on Yelp.
Subscribe again. Do it multiple times.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of what we're
yeah.
wearing, I'm
So
wearing Rocket's Black History Month shirt. Show that real quick.
love
I'm
it.
also I got a hat this episode. I wore a hat to work today. Because it
Oh
was a very
yeah.
casual day. It was like a training day, so I wore a
Yeah,
hat
why
to
not?
work, and I got home and I was like, my hair looks terrible. I'm gonna have to wear a hat for the podcast too.
I'm gonna have
Uh,
hat hair. We better wear a hat that makes sense with the pod.
I
That's
got
for sure.
the hat headset combo. I dig it though. I kind of like it.
Doesn't look bad. Look good. Look fly.
You got the Summer League jacket, so that means, Dom's gonna do the ultimate zipper reveal. Very
Yeah,
dramatic.
it's always chilly in my room, so I'm always gonna have like the reveal. And today it's a little hint on what we're gonna talk about later, which we're not gonna talk about right now. But I gotta stand up.
H-Tone,
H
H-Tone.
Town Zero Westbrook jersey I found at Marshall's for like $20. I got Damon
Yes.
one too. It's still in my possession though
I was gonna
because I
say
didn't
I
see
don't
him.
have that jersey. I was like, wait, I don't have that jersey.
Yeah, but
Um,
this one was one of my favorite city. I love this baby blue with like the red and the
yeah.
white.
I
I
was
think
gonna
it looks
say for
really
the
cool.
the audio listeners, Dom has the baby blue, like Houston Oiler kind of throwback
Yeah.
Rockets jersey with Westbrook when he was on the team. Good jersey. And $20,
Yeah.
you can't beat $20.
Can't be $20. I mean 10.
Especially not in this economy.
Inflation. Let's talk about that. Basketball's not important right now. Kidding.
This is a
It's
serious
everything.
podcast.
We're serious now. Well, I
We're
guess
making the transition from basketball to finance.
and then politics. But
Ugh.
yeah, terrible. I know last time we talked about like the last time was a little bit fun. We talked a little bit about like all time players that we enjoy watching, and I thought that was pretty fun just to kind of like pick our brains about like who we liked watching growing up and
Did you see what
everything.
I titled last episode?
No, what'd you title it?
I really like the title. I titled it "The Evolution of Basketball."
Oh, I think you. Okay, I did see that.
I
It
was
was
like,
good.
I
It's a
don't.
good
This is a
one.
good title.
Shout out Damon for the good episode names.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
shout
last
out.
time I checked, it had 0 listens on YouTube and like 1 listen on Spotify. So
That
we're
was
making it
me.
big. We're making it big.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. Thank you if you are listening. Thanks for listening. We really
Listen,
appreciate it.
listen to the podcast. What are you doing? You're missing out on good podcast.
It's good. It's a good podcast.
As
Good friends
Dom
talking
told me it was
hoops.
good, and I told him it was good. So it must be pretty
So
good.
it must be pretty good. Yeah. Also, I think last time we talked about FIBA a little bit. Still some exhibitions going on. We're not going to touch it today because not much has really happened. We'll probably talk about it next week when it starts. But yeah, last pod was fun. It was our shortest one yet. We'll see how this one goes.
Hour and 25 minutes, our shortest podcast. Yeah. Based on what we have to talk about today, do today, yeah. I could see it going long. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, yeah.
But on to
What was
our first news. Oh, sorry. What were you
Yeah,
gonna say?
what's the first thing we're gonna talk about,
Oh, okay.
Damon? Please inform me,
The
inform us.
the first thing we're going to talk about, the induction of the 2023 Hall of Fame class.
Yeah,
Dom and we've looked at this, but Dom really he wanted to see if he could guess the Hall. He's probably looked at it
yeah,
once or twice, glanced at it, but he doesn't study into it, read into it, he didn't watch or anything. So it's like, oh, does he remember? Who do you think?
yeah.
Do you want any hints before, or do you want to just go?
No, I got this. You know why? Because also on Instagram there are a ton of clips from the induction. So I have quite a few. Um, I don't know. I had a lot of hints throughout the week, but
Follow the underscore Dominica's on Instagram. Is that
sure and
is
follow
that
my
is that
band.
what it
Sure.
is?
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
still
I don't even have Instagram, so
yeah. You used
I
to.
just know it. I actually didn't used to.
Did someone make it for you?
It was like a okay. real quick sidebar. It was like when Facebook and Instagram merged, and I like it created like a default Instagram profile, and I literally never posted on it a single time, and then eventually I deactivated it.
Gotcha. Okay, I do remember when that happened. Okay, I'm gonna guess Hall of Fame inductees. Here we go. Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Pau Gasol, Dwayne Wade, Greg Popovich. How many am I missing?
Zero. That's all of them.
Yeah. What did I say? What did I say?
That was great, and I'm reading this article, and you almost did it in the exact order.
Wait, did I Oh my, that's
It
wild.
was Dirk, Tony Parker, Dwayne Wade, Popovich, Powell. You moved Powell up a couple spots, but everything else was in like
well,
the exact order.
I just wanted to do players first. That's what I think of first, and then coaches. But yeah. So, how do you feel about the Hall of Fame class? Is there anyone that like popped out to you, or do you think everyone like deserves it? I mean, we all have our point of views, so I'm just curious how you feel about it.
Yeah, I think honestly the thing that popped out to me the most is the fact that Greg Popovich is inducted while he's still coaching, which is insane. He's still in the league.
That is crazy,
So
right?
it was like, oh,
I didn't even.
he's already a Hall of Fame coach. Just induct him. Put him in. Put him in.
Yeah, it's like nothing he does now will make him more of a
How
legend than he already is. You
how will
know.
this affect LeBron's legacy?
Why isn't he inducted yet right now? Come on.
No, I mean it's like I think a lot of people regard him as the best or second or third. Third probably at worst, like coach of all time.
Yeah.
Not third worst, third best coach of all time.
Yeah.
So it's like obviously a Hall of Fame case. It's just interesting to me that they inducted them because I guess the rules are probably different for coaches.
Yeah, that's what I
But
was
it's like
thinking.
Dirk, Dwayne Wade. I think maybe even Tony Parker and Pat. I feel like they all went out of the league around the same time, like when they officially retired, like 2017, 2018 ish.
Yeah, something like that.
So it makes sense, the list of names makes sense. I think they're definitely all deserving, all championship players. Um,
Yeah.
all people I think of growing up watching basketball, like, oh yeah, this person was a prime like person in my basketball experience. So I don't think any of them are undeserving or anything like that. I would have to look at a list of like people that aren't inducted, to maybe make a fuss, like, why isn't this person, that from however many years ago is not inducted? That would be the only thing I could like think of. But no, I think
Yeah.
Tony Parker and Popovich getting inducted together, I think is interesting. Uh,
Yeah, I know like so Tim Duncan I know is already inducted. I think he got inducted last year.
mhm.
So it makes sense that I don't know if Ginobili is already inducted, but I feel like he's a shoe-in for the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah.
But he played longer than them, if I remember correctly. Like he kind of put.
Ginobili was last year.
Oh, did he? Okay, cool.
I'm looking at some
Um,
list right now.
yeah, but regarding what you said, honestly, I kind of thought everyone that was inducted this year was already in the Hall of Fame
Yeah,
type
it's
thing.
that.
Like I
Yeah,
was
like
like,
they're Hall of
oh,
Fame
of
players for
course.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very happy for all of them. And it's actually I watched this. There was a guy, so they were doing signings at the Hall of Fame, and fans could go with their posters to get signed. I saw
Mhm.
a guy with he had a tattoo sleeve, and it said Hall of Fame 2023, and he asked all five to sign his forearm, and he got it all tattooed, like their
That's
signature
awesome.
about him. Yeah, it looked
I,
pretty cool.
that's so weird. It's like, does he have a like super like attachment to like
To
this
this,
particular class?
maybe it's just the opportunity presented itself, and he said, "I gotta do it. I gotta do it." And I know I remember there was a couple of things I was watching too. Saw a lot of like Dirk stuff on my feed, and they were the I think the Mavericks like social media was going around, and they were asking like, when you think of Dirk Nowitzki, like what do you think of? And what came up a lot was loyalty, and I thought that was really cool. Like and just how much he meant to the city, like all these people were
Mhm.
talking about, which I thought was so cool. Like not a lot of players can say that, So
The
I'm
one
very
player,
happy
one
for him.
franchise, is a dead dream.
I really hope it isn't, but I have a feeling it probably is.
Yeah, it's gonna die with like Curry and maybe like Giannis. I don't know. I feel like Giannis could leave too.
Yeah, I could see him leaving too at some point, especially like I feel like toward the end of the career, like everyone eventually starts to kind of move around, just to see like where they fit. 'Cause they still want to play, but it's like you're not at the level that you once were, things like that. But
I did want to point out I was mistaken. That wasn't the whole class. Those are like the five most important people. There are also a bunch of people that neither of us have ever heard of. But like probably not players like, assistant coaches and things like that. But
oh, okay.
there are also who I did want to shout out was Becky Hammon was in the Hall of Fame too. You know who Becky Hammon is?
You could probably tell from my expression, I do not know who that is.
So Becky Hammon was actually Greg Popovich's like top assistant coach for several years, and she almost had a head coaching job in the NBA. She would have been the first
Yeah.
woman NBA head coach, but she took a job. I think she's the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces now.
Oh, well, they're
Um,
doing great right now. So
yeah,
that makes
so did want to
and
shout out
also
her
a current coach also who got
current
inducted
coach.
to the Hall of
Yeah,
Fame.
two current coaches.
Wow.
But yeah,
Like,
Becky Hammon is like probably like top tier WNBA coach or coach in
yeah.
general.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
I was because I was looking over and I remembered that I saw her and Popovich had like they were mentioning each other in their speeches.
Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
love that. But yeah, no, I think this Hall of Fame class, at least the ones I know, the five that I mentioned, well deserved, great players. I remember watching all the time. I remember like not liking Tony Parker because the Spurs always were out to get the Lakers. I mean, it was always like a tough matchup. So, but always respected his game. And he loved that he played for the French national team. Dirk always playing for Germany is cool. Powell
Hmm.
playing for Spain, like um, and Dwayne Wade, I mean, just being, the athletic and versatile player he was just really fun to watch, So he played with a lot of like tenacity and force, and that's something I enjoy in a basketball player, and very entertaining to watch as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like the European players' pride they always seem to have. I know we kind of talked about this with FIBA last episode, but it's like those
Yeah.
players really get like rep their country and they take that pride when they come to the NBA and they're like, whatever team I'm on, like that's my team while I'm here.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah. And yeah, so I'm very, very happy to see them inducted, and they look like they're all great friends too, which makes me happy just to see them all there together, and giving each other like props and whatnot. It's very cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the Hall of Fame. If you didn't catch it, I recommend looking at the whole list, see if there's anybody let us know, because I didn't know anybody else. So tell me, who did I miss? Who should I know from this
Who,
list?
yeah, who did we not mention that you're
Who did I
very
sleep
offended
on?
by? All right, next
Yeah.
piece of news I wanted to cover with you. This happened a couple days ago now, so we're a little late on it, but that's fine because we release this podcast once a week, and whoever's listening to it is probably not here for the instantaneous reaction of two NBA professionals. So I think we'll be okay.
Right.
Um, but anyways, it's about James Harden.
Okay.
As most people know, I don't know. I think we have mentioned it on the podcast, so I'll briefly touch it if we didn't. But James Harden's currently on the 76ers. He requested a trade over the summer. And 2 days ago, not 2 days ago now, 2 days ago before the video I'm about to talk about, so like
Okay.
5 days ago now,
Okay.
the 76ers ended trades talks. They said, yeah, we're not getting any offers that we like. We know you want to go to the Clippers. We try, we want to make you happy, but they're not giving us what we need. So, we want to be a contender, and you're just gonna have to stick around. It's basically
Okay.
what they said.
And that's the last thing I heard too. Like, I heard
Yeah,
they ended trade talk, so he'll probably start. To my knowledge, they were like, he's going to start the season as a 76er.
yeah. And then James Harden currently is in China, or maybe not
Okay.
right now, but at the time of this, he was in China.
Hmm.
Um, and he was there for an Adidas event, I believe. He's sponsored by Adidas. He had a bunch of kids, a bunch of fans are like there at like this James Harden event. They're like, oh my God, James Harden. I know I was watching like a video. I saw a bunch of people with like a couple years ago, Houston, when he was on Houston, they had like a
Hmm.
Chinese New Year Rockets
Yeah.
jersey. And a
Hmm.
bunch of people had the Chinese New Year like Harden Rockets jersey. And I was
It's
like,
a pretty
that's
cool. It's a
cool.
pretty cool jersey. Yeah.
But he's like doing this camp or whatever, and he's talking in front of the crowd, and then just everything he's doing with the camp just stops for a second. And this is what he says. Okay, I'm gonna read it verbatim.
Okay, read it.
He says, Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. And then the crowd's like, huh? They're like no one says anything. It's like really silent and awkward. And then he goes, let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I'll never be an organization that he's a part of. And then the crowd was like, okay,
Are
we
you
don't really know what's going
serious?
on. Like, because I mean,
There's a video of this?
yes, there's a video of this, and like
Oh my
a lot
God.
of the crowd being in China, I'm sure they don't like speak like great English. They're probably confused what's going on. They're like, "What is this guy talking about right now?" Like we thought he's our basketball hero. He watching the Rockets, several years ago, and now he's here for like this event. And we're like, "Oh my God, I never thought I'd meet this guy because I live across the world." So it's like a surreal experience for them. And then he says something like this. It's like, huh? And um, to provide some context before we get
Yeah,
your reaction to this, what I think he's referencing is last year in the offseason, James Harden opted to take a smaller deal than he probably could have gotten. So he got
right.
like a 1+1, like $35 million, and with a player option on it. And I think the idea behind him calling Daryl Morey a liar, for those that don't know, Daryl Morey is the general manager of the 76ers. He used to be the general manager of the Rockets when Harden was on.
Yeah.
Um, he, I think what he's saying is that him and Daryl Morey probably had some sort of unwritten agreement where this year to make the 76ers better, or last year rather, to make the 76ers better, he would take a lower deal so they could afford players like PJ Tucker, Daniel House, some players they signed
Mhm.
in the offseason to be in contender status. And I think the idea was, okay, I'll take this pay cut, but next year you're going to give me like my 4-year max because I'm going to decline my player option. Um, that sounds like what probably happened. And now
Yeah.
this offseason came, and Daryl Morey's like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm not giving you that contract. So you better just accept your player option." And then Harden's like, "All right, well then you better trade me." And now we're kind of at this standstill because I guess Harden was promised long-term max offer,
Yeah.
and he's not getting that long-term max offer. Now, who's in the right and who's in the wrong here is probably a little bit on both sides. On one hand, you can say Daryl Morey, you shouldn't have promised him that if you weren't going to do it. On the other
Yeah.
side, you can kind of look at Harden's long history of kind of disappointing in the playoffs and such. And he's like 33 now, so getting him a long-term deal is like, why would I do that? Um, but yeah, sorry, I just talked for a long time. What do after hearing all that? Because I told Dom not to look into this story too much because I wanted to break it and get the reaction on the podcast, sort of thing. So, what do
Yeah.
you think?
So what I find most interesting about this is that he does this after they ended trade talks. So now he's like, so now I'm confused. Like, what does Harden expect? Is he just not going to play basketball until he's traded? Like he has an obligation, like he has a contract that he signed willingly. And this is why I'm not a big fan of like any under the table like agreements, is because there's nothing forcing anyone to do that. I mean, like you could think about like all these players that get max contracts to be like, this year I'll sign for 20, and then like that's why I think there's some kind of law in the NBA like bylaws that doesn't allow that to happen. So they can't just like, this year I'll take less money so we can just sign all these like role players
Right.
or whatever. But so this isn't like, I'll say this, I'm not surprised. Number one is James Harden. Okay, so
Same guy
he
that, requested out of
he
Houston,
requests out
requested
of
out of
Houston, requests out
Brooklyn.
of Brooklyn. So it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, his track record, it doesn't surprise me. But what it does do is like, what does he expect? Like this, it's kind of situations like this that happen that make me doubt if he actually plays for the game, like he loves the game.
Oh, he doesn't.
um
Sure.
I
There's no
know,
way. There's no
and
way.
I know, because it's like, just like you're playing, okay, you're on the 76ers, you're playing with the reigning MVP. Your team is about the same as it was last year. I mean, do your best to get where you are. You're 33, you're getting older, you don't deserve a max. That's my opinion. Some people might say he does, but I just don't think he's playing
Not a
at that
long-term max at
level.
that age.
Yeah, I'm just, I just don't think, I think he thinks he's worth more than he is. And I just wish he would just embrace his role, right? And that is to complement Embiid, and just to try and get a championship, or at least get past, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, like just get to that level. And it's, maybe Daryl Morey is a liar, sure, but everyone's a liar. You know what I mean? Like it's all a business. So I'm not excusing if Daryl Morey did lie to him, but it's part of the game. Like that's the business side. You do things like that to make your team better, and I don't agree with it by any means. But it doesn't excuse like you forsaking the team you're on right now for the team you want to be on. Plus, like, you go into the Clippers, that's not gonna, the West is OP. Like, you're not, Harden on the Clippers is not going to get into that championship. He just wants the money, So it's just, I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed. I thought he's talked a lot about how he was happy in Philadelphia and he likes the fans and everything, but maybe that was just,
The fans are certainly not going to like him. Philadelphia fans are brutal.
they're brutal. Yeah. So why would you want to get in the bad graces of Philadelphia fans? So I'm just, I'm curious to see how it advances, of course, what happens. The situation itself, that he was in China doing it, and apparently out of
So
nowhere, is
weird.
so funny. Because you sent me, so Damon texted me. I woke up at 6 a.m. to a quote. Damon said, don't like research this, but I'm just gonna send you a quote from James Harden, and just said, like, I will not work for Daryl Morey. He is a liar. Daryl Morey is a liar. It was like the same sentence
Yeah.
twice, and I was like, did he just accidentally type it twice? So it's funny that he said it twice. And unprompted. I mean,
Do you think there's a chance James Harden, if not traded, like the 76ers claim, that he holds out? Do you
I
think
would
he won't
hate
show up?
that. I would hate that so much. It's just gonna be another Ben Simmons thing, and
I
I
was going
don't.
to say,
And
who's the last player that did this? Can you think
the
what team he played for?
the Philadelphia 76ers have the worst luck, and I feel terrible because, like, they have really good players and they have chances. Like last year, you could argue they were supposed to win that series. I mean, they were up, what, 3-2, I think. Like, they should have
Yeah.
won. But they didn't. They choked. James Harden choked, and now they're back, where they were before, and a little bit worse. They lost some pieces this offseason. So I didn't really sign anybody. They signed Mo Bamba.
Like we talked about in D&D's episode 3.
Yeah, the offseason. We talked about the offseason.
Go
We're not
back
gonna
and
go
watch it
through
if you
it.
didn't watch it.
Mm. But I just I I hate to say that I do see a world where he does hold out and he doesn't play. But, like, what kind of example are you showing to these younger players who are getting in the league? And the thing is,
He doesn't care about that. That's the
I know,
problem.
but I wish he did.
I know.
I know. It's just, especially, so many people look up to James Harden as a basketball player. Personally, I don't, but that's okay because other people do. And if they enjoy his game and they want to play basketball because of that, that's all that matters. That's all I care about.
Right.
But when you are doing things like this, and I'm all for player empowerment, absolutely. I think you should be happy where you play. But he kind of made his bed in this, he took this deal, he opted in, and now he's there. And what he should do is make the 76ers feel sorry they did this, and he should play amazingly. They probably will make it into the playoffs, and then might get kicked out by the Bucks, Cavaliers, Celtics, whatever. And then next year he'll get his max. You know what I mean? Like, let your game do the talking.
Earn it.
Earn it. Exactly. Let your game do the talking. Last year,
Don't flame out in the playoffs, and then you might have it.
I know you had 2 40-point games, yes,
Like
but
game ones, to be
yeah,
fair. Like,
but what did it amount to? You
right.
still got kicked out. So, James Harden, I know you're listening. Play this
I
year.
know you're a fan of the show.
Make the Sixers sorry that they don't sign you to a max. Play your heart out this year, and then get your money next year.
Yeah,
That's
James
all I'm saying.
Edward Harden Jr.
Is that his name?
I'm looking at it. Yes.
I'm proud of you. I would have just said some random names and put it together. But that's all what I have to say. How do you you were just stating facts. So like how do you see a world where he's going to hold out? Do you think he's going to play? He'll get traded? What's the most realistic thing you see?
It's tough because something we haven't brought up yet, because I was going to bring up the Ben Simmons thing. You kind of already did that, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is one scenario where it's hold out and then eventually Ben Simmons got fined. Like he was losing a ton of money and then he like
Yeah.
tried to come back or whatever. But what I think of is another James Harden situation when he was on the Rockets and he didn't want to play because the team kind of traded off everyone else or whatever.
Hmm.
And we had a new coach and
We got
he,
John Wall. That was like the one thing.
yeah, he came into training camp and preseason like very out of shape. Um, and then he like was kind of playing badly on purpose, like the first like 10 games of the season in Houston to get traded. Um, I hope that doesn't happen. That would be
And
sad.
yeah, I would hate that. And also, while that was happening, he was also whenever he was being interviewed, he would just say like, how do they expect me to win with this team? Like they're not even trying to get me a team that like it's just complaining, not even like giving props to the guys that are trying and everything. It's just
Yeah. Not, not one of my favorite players as a Rockets fan.
yeah,
Even before uh Dom can vouch for this, but I
yeah.
didn't even really like Harden before all the drama happened. I didn't like the way he played.
Yeah, we're just I mean, and like again, I'm gonna reiterate that like just because we don't like his game doesn't mean anyone else shouldn't, you know. If you
Yeah,
like it,
if that's your
golf
style, that's your style. I
and if you're good at it, I mean, do it, like play your heart out. But
I
it's
didn't like
just not
the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just not the style we enjoy watching when we watch
Foul drawing
basketball.
and step backing and
Yeah. And you know
ISO
what's
ball.
what's weird is that Luca does it too, but Luca is does it unselfishly. I feel like he doesn't take unnecessary shots. Like he really does try to get the team involved. Like he does
Yeah,
do step backs and he does assist, but for whatever reason, maybe that I don't know. I just think it's a personality thing. Like he wants to win and he's just good at getting everyone involved.
yeah. I mean,
You
you can
know,
definitely see it. I think when you compare it to something like Luca, it's like I think Luca's intentionally trying to get early points in order to draw double teams in order to pass to open people. And
too.
Harden,
Yeah.
I think in the recent years, Harden has been very good as a ball handler and playmaker. I'll give him that. I think he led the
Yeah.
league in assists a couple years ago or
And
last year.
you got him in and you got him in your fantasy league. I remember you got him just for that reason because he
Yeah,
was pretty good. Yeah.
yeah. So I think recently he actually has done a better job. But when I was referring back to like the prime Houston years, it was much more just like he was like led the league in scoring. I think he averaged like 36 on here, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But yeah, so weird situation. Interested to see how it unfolds. I'm sure we'll touch on it again if anything develops similar to like Dame situation.
Absolutely. And if anything does, make sure not to tell me everything so you can have my reaction firsthand.
Yeah. I'll also we'll just look at it on pod.
Oh, you just play the video?
I'll
Well, yeah,
just
or
not
something
look
like
at
that.
anything on any news outlet for like a whole week and I'll be like, all right, let's look at the news. Do we have
Let's see
anything?
what's
What are we talking about today? Let's see.
that would be a very interesting way to do it.
Oh, there's no
That'd be
news.
kind of
All right,
fun.
thanks for tuning in, guys.
Oh, this was a short episode. Yeah, but so thanks for bringing it up. I think it's important to talk about, and in an age of player empowerment, I think situations like this will matter.
Mhm.
So it is interesting to see how it will unfold. So like the Ben Simmons thing, it's I mean, it's hard to say if it worked out, it didn't work out. I honestly hope the best for Ben. I hope he plays this year and he's really good and he's back to himself and
Yeah, he kind
uh
of destroyed his own image though. So
yeah,
like
it's
he
it's
got out, but I feel like he didn't win. Like he didn't win that situation.
yeah, and no one really, I don't know. It was
There
because
were no winners. Everyone was a
exactly
loser.
because a winner would have been someone that won the championship, and guess what? No one that was a part of that
No
won a
one.
championship. So, but yeah, I mean, now everyone's kind of set up for the future, trying to prepare for it. So we'll see. We'll follow what happens coming up, and we'll cover that.
And now on to the thing I didn't look at, so I could react to it on the pod.
Yeah, there you go. So now you can react to this. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the in-season tournament. This is a brand new. Hey, it's the brand new thing. Hey, come here. It's the brand new.
It's a
Hey,
secret.
hey, kid. You want to see what's new in the NBA this year? Hey, come over here. Yeah. So they're doing an in-season tournament, and when I first heard about it, I'm skeptical, but I was skeptical about the play-in tournament, and I like the play-in. So
Play-in's so good. I love the play-in.
yeah, the play-in is very cool. So I'm all for this as of right now because why not? Like it's more basketball.
I think
It's
I think I mean the whole goal is just to make
this
the
regular
regular
season.
season matter a little more, right? For
Yeah, I
players and for
always
fans.
yeah, I so as a fan, I love the fact that I could watch basketball basically every single night, and I just love watching it. Like it could be the first game of the season, the last game. I'm gonna be there. I love watching
I'm
it.
tuned in.
But I understand some people are like I
The
remember
casual.
I was talking to a friend about this, and
Well, I
it
guess
was
we're kind
so
of casuals. But
yeah, well, it was so funny because he brought this up. A friend of mine who loves baseball, loves baseball, 182 games. It was like, how can you watch
62.
basketball? Okay, still twice as many as basketball. It's like, how can you watch the regular season of basketball? Doesn't it not matter? And I was like, your favorite sport has twice as many games. Like it's crazy.
And
But
they're literally every day. They're like boom, boom,
literally
boom,
every
boom, boom.
day.
I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, so this in-season tournament, basically the idea is they're drawing from what other what soccer leagues do, which is basically there's this regular season where they have I think like 60 games or something like that. And this is goes to Premier League, this is in the MLS here in the US. They have trophy games in the middle of the season. And this is the same aspects just to make it more interesting in the middle of the season. And I have actually a story about this. So I went to here at the in LA. I went to an LA Galaxy game.
Mm.
And the first game I went to was a cup game. That's what they call them here in the US. And the stadium was like a fourth capacity. There was like no one
That's
there.
that's so
It was
sad.
it was really, and we could sit anywhere. I sat at the very front. It was awesome for that reason.
Mhm.
So I was like, I guess people here don't love soccer. So here's the thing. I went to another game, regular season game, and the place was popping. It was full of
Wow.
people. It was
Interesting.
insane. It was so fun. It was way different atmosphere than a cup game. So all I'm saying is that I hope this isn't the same kind of like I hope this doesn't happen with this. I think this will be a really cool uh experiment. We'll see how it goes.
Your man
So
doesn't like take away from
yeah, I hope it doesn't take away, and I hope people just don't disregard it instead of
yeah.
and like totally,
The
because it will
NBA
matter. And
Cup.
the players,
That's what it's called. Do
yeah,
you know that? That's weird.
no, I didn't know that actually. Well, I know the players are getting if you win, they get a $500,000, which I mean to like
So the
the
two-way
brand
guy,
new
that's pretty
players,
good.
yeah, that's really good. But then to LeBron, he's like, okay, cool.
He's a
I'll add
billionaire,
a
right?
yeah at this point. But so basically how it works is they randomly drew the East and the West into three groups of five. So I can go into each group. I can just kind of say the groups basically. It's similar to like their divisions, but not exactly. So the West Group A is Grizzlies, Suns, Lakers, Jazz, Blazers.
Okay, so like
Um
three good teams and two awful teams.
exact. So
Good
it's
to
very
know.
interesting. Yeah, so okay, so that's Group A. Group B, Nuggets, Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Rockets.
Okay, the Nuggets are going to murder that group. Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, also, before I go further, I want to say so each team plays the other team at one point throughout the season, and it's specifically for the in-season tournament. And
Yeah.
basically, the two best teams and then a wild card team advance. And
Mhm.
so the wild card teams play the other wild cards from the other groups, and then that's how it's kind of like a bracket from
Mhm.
there. I'm not going to go, I don't know too much more than that, so I'm not going to dive further, but I'm going to keep going to the groups. I just wanted to kind of give you context. So, Group C, Kings, Warriors, Wolves, Thunder, and Spurs.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what I do, I was listening to another podcast and I liked what he brought up. He brought up that this would be way more interesting if it mixed East and West, which I agree
Yeah,
with.
I I was thinking that when you talked about like as soon as you said they divided into East and West, I thought like how many years have we gotten conference final series that was better than the finals?
Yeah.
Um, and I thought I still think it would be cool to have a playoffs that are uh not East and West. I feel like it would be so cool to just be like 1 to 16. But
It's a
I know
different
that's
conversation. I got feelings
yeah,
about that. I
that's a
got feelings.
that's a whole different wormhole to dive down that we don't have time to do right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, what like I feel like the teams you just read out to me. I feel like I already know who the losers are in every single one of those things.
You think that, but what's cool is that it's basically one game
Yes,
that match. So
like
it's
a
like
March
if the
Madness type deal.
exactly. So the Grizzlies have a bad game, they lose to the Jazz, and then the Lakers have a bad game, Jazz are the first, and they make it to the next. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that is what's kind of cool about it, I will say. That's not gonna be, best out of seven, because then it's pretty obvious Nuggets are gonna win. Warriors are probably gonna make it past. So
Yeah.
it's cool. And then after that first group stage, it is a one game elimination.
Mm.
So that's
That'll be
pretty
cool, I think.
that gives,
That'll give the March Madness feel.
exactly a bit more stakes to it. So I personally I do want to try and make it to an in-season tournament game this year. Usually, at least in soccer, the tickets were quite a bit more cheaper. So I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Go to
I was
get to
looking,
watch basketball.
I knew that the Rockets played the Nuggets because I had an email that was like in season
I
tournament
got that
Rockets
too.
Nuggets game or whatever.
And
Uh,
I saw yeah, I saw that as well. I got the same email. But let's cover the East real quick. So East, the first group is Sixers, Cavaliers, Hawks, Pacers, Pistons.
Man, you were going really strong at the beginning.
Yeah, and then just like
Just,
um
Pacers,
group
I mean, I think the Pacers are one of those teams that could definitely have a surprise upset.
yeah, definitely was what I was thinking too, or even like the Hawks. I don't know, Pistons not, but and
Oh, you
so
said the
next
Hawks? I thought you said the Bucks.
no Hawks. Yeah,
I thought you
so
said, wait, what was the second team? Cavaliers?
yeah,
I
Cavaliers.
thought you said 76ers, Cavaliers, Bucks. I thought those were the first three teams. I was like, God, gee, that's a group.
Nope, that's the
Hawks.
next.
Okay.
The next group is pretty wild too. Bucks, Knicks, Heat, Wizards, Hornets.
They all just fall off at the end.
Yeah. Oh,
Wizards Hornets is crazy.
yeah. And the last one is Celtics, Nets, Raptors, Bulls, and Magic.
That one, aside from the Celtics, I feel like it's anyone's game.
Yeah.
All the other, they all feel pretty balanced.
Yeah, I will say that it's weird to see an odd number in
Mhm.
like a group, but I will say that randomly picked, I think it doesn't look bad. It could be a lot worse. It
There's
could be,
no way it's actually random, right?
I have a feeling that
Like the NBA
the
would
I
cry if it was Magic, Pistons, Wizards, Hornets, like a group.
so I think what they do is the top three seeds are the in each separate group already. So group A is
Mm,
Grizzlies, they were second seed,
mm,
Nuggets first, Kings third. So that was like, okay, those are the three. So they're not together.
yeah,
And then from there, I think it's random. Um,
yeah, that makes
which
sense.
makes it more sense, I think. Because yeah, it would be terrible if it was like, oh, here we go. We got Magic, Hornets, Wizards, Raptors, Pistons. We're like, okay.
Enjoy.
And have at it. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm gonna like I said, I'm gonna try to go because Lakers games are so expensive.
Mhm.
I have a feeling that the in-season tournament tickets might be cheaper. Maybe not the first one, but like one of the other ones. So I'll definitely want to go check it out, and
When
I'll
you
let
say you want to
everyone
go to an
know.
in-season tournament game, are you talking about like the games before the actual tournament that count as the tournament? Or are you talking about like if the Lakers advance into like the single elimination game?
Thank you for making sure I clarify. I'm in a group stage game. Like if they're playing just like the Blazers or the Jazz and like
Because yeah, it's interesting because if people don't know this, these games they count as a regular season game. It doesn't.
Right.
The only extra basketball, if I'm not mistaken, is the championship game. That's like an 83rd game for those teams. But every other team, those in-season tournament games, they are a part of their schedule. They're like built into account for 82 games. It's not extra games.
Yeah, which is nice compared to like soccer because I think that's separate totally.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think that the opportunity of these tickets might be cheaper because they want people to go, might be there. We'll see.
Mm.
I will find out firsthand because I
I, li-
definitely
I like that's
want to.
built into the regular season too, though.
I do too, because it's not just adding like, all right, you got 82 games. All right, here's at least 83 more, 4 more. It's like it's
Because I
already
think
so many.
because it does feel more important if I like go to a Rockets game and it's like, oh, we're at in-season tournament night. Like, oh, like it feels like, oh, okay, this is
They'll
like
make a thing out of it. Yeah. And
yeah, yeah.
also I think I need to say that I know the championship for sure, and I'm pretty sure the elimination games are all played in Vegas.
They are. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, yeah.
saw that
So
when we were in
that's
summer league. They were
yes.
advertising that.
Yeah, so I think that's very important too. Like there's no such thing as like home court advantage, really.
Mhm.
I guess unless
Just
I
like
mean
March Madness. Just keep
yeah.
comparing it to March Madness.
And I don't live too far away from Vegas, so like if tickets aren't bad, like
Me
it would
too.
be
I'm
cool
pretty
to go.
close.
I'm closer.
Uh, I'm a 22-hour drive away. I think. I think that's how far it
You're
is to
right.
Vegas.
I'm only like 5. It's whatever.
3 hour flight.
Um, but yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I'm curious to see how it'll go. I
Where do
hope
they
it has
play? They play in the Aces Arena.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not even gonna
They
pretend
play
to
in
know.
the little sphere that they advertise like the
The
Summer
ball.
League thing on. They play inside of that.
That would be insane. Um,
It's just like a blacktop
really cool.
court and like a bleachers, like you're
Oh
in
my
middle school or
god.
something.
I would love that. My middle school basketball floor was concrete, so I would
Oh
love
my
that.
goodness.
It was like glossed over
Indoor concrete?
concrete. Yeah, that's
That's
where
crazy.
that's how I chipped my tooth because in PE because it was like smoothed out concrete and I fell
Shout
and
out
just
GC.
GCS
I was gonna
Galveston
say it, but I was
Catholic.
like, I don't know if you want me to say it.
Oh no, you're fine. That's fine. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not called Holy Family Catholic School, but yeah, that's where I played a lot of basketball there. So I mean,
That's
has a
where he
special place in
realized
my
he was
heart.
Kobe Bryant in the
That's where
making.
I am Kobe Bryant.
Reincarnated.
And yeah, so I think that covers like the in season tournament. We're gonna go over um when the season starts. We'll talk about how we want
Yeah.
to bring this tournament into the show and everything.
Yeah,
But
I think as we get into the season we'll do like kind of since we're doing once a week, we'll do like a
recaps,
week by week, like, here's what happened. I don't think we'll go on Monday, this team played this team and this team played this team,
right?
like anything like that. But
Yeah,
big stuff we'll talk about.
there's
Uh
always gonna be stuff going on
Jokic
for
just had a
sure.
50-point triple double against this team. That happened this week, or blah blah blah. This player got injured. We'll do that.
Yeah, 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 and yeah, we'll definitely cover the tournament too. So, but yeah, that's I think that's all we need to know about the tournament right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, world.
And now we're going to get into the bulk of today's episode, what will probably be the longest segment. I briefly talked about this last time on episode 4, the evolution of basketball. Check it out on YouTube and Spotify. And
Episode 4, D&D's two-man game.
yeah, watch them in order. What are you doing? We scaffold here. You know what that means? It's a teaching term. Scaffold.
No,
It's
I'm
like
not a teacher.
it's like I am a teacher. It's like building up on your prior knowledge. So like
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
um but all right, so we talked about this last time. We are going to rank starting point guards. I'm gonna share my screen here. Um can you confirm that you can see this, Dominicus?
I will confirm that I see it, and you're in presenter mode, I
I'm in
believe, right?
presenter mode, yeah.
And it looks great. It's a lot easier to see. So
Thanks.
if you are listening to this, I highly recommend
Definitely
you
gotta come watch.
watch it, or I'll
What
describe.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
say
yeah.
the names of the
Yeah.
teams, and yeah.
So
But what
so
are we looking at? Tell me,
what are we
Damon.
looking at? Yes, we are looking at potential starting point guards for the 2023-2024 NBA season.
Okay.
I wanted to do this with Dominicus for each position: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and kind of rank them. And as you may notice, if you are watching on YouTube or Spotify, there are more than 30 point guards here. And that is because this list that I pulled up just had a lot of potential starting point guards. But part of the fun is that Dom and I will talk about, okay, who's the point guard for this team? What guy are we putting?
Right.
We'll go over that. There are a couple of missing people. We
Hmm.
don't have a Suns point guard on here. I think this list I'm looking at was made before the Chris Paul trade. So Chris Paul is still on.
Yeah.
But instead, the Suns announced that Bradley Beal would be their starting point guard next year. So we'll use somebody's picture, not Bradley Beal because we don't have him, and we'll slot Bradley Beal into that spot. We're also missing Jordan Poole because he was a part of that trade, getting Chris Paul over to the Warriors. He's probably going to start for the Wizards over Monte Morris and DeLon Wright. You can see those two guys here. So we'll talk about, we'll use one of their pictures and talk about Jordan Poole. And then the third player I'm forgetting. Oh, CJ McCollum.
CJ McCollum.
CJ McCollum, Pelicans starting point guard, which
Yeah,
I don't know how they messed this up because there's not a single Pelicans player here.
it's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what they did here to just not include. Meanwhile, there's three Rockets point guards. So cool.
I would love to see it. And one
Yeah.
Lakers point
Well,
guard. Well, I
I
guess
didn't make
yeah.
the list. I didn't
No,
do
it's
it.
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's not my bias, I swear. Yeah, so I told Dom I would wait to explain how I wanted to do this to him.
Okay, so how are we doing this? Explain to me.
So yeah, first of all, I need to explain to listeners how I want to do this. Dom and I already talked about this part. I want to do it as a projection. I want to do it as who do we think by the end of the season, this is where these players are going to lie. Because I think it's very easy to look at this and look at Luka, Steph, Shea, guys that were all NBA first team, second team, and be like, oh, yes, you're S tier. Obviously, we just watched the season they had.
Yeah.
And those guys might still be S tier. But what we want to do is if there's any players, maybe they had a down season, players that we think are going to make a jump, players we think may fall off. We
Yeah.
want to project where those players might end up because I think that's harder and more interesting than just being like, oh yeah, let's just organize them and how they played last season because we already saw that. I think it's more interesting to try to predict.
Yeah, and I do want to say that we are going to whatever teams they are on at this moment is how we're going to project. So like we have James Harden in a Sixers uniform, we're gonna project if he stays on the Sixers and plays for the Sixers.
And we have Dame here as well.
And another great
Scoot.
example. Scoop.
But well, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to those specific situations. But yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up. We're gonna, we can only do where the players are. We can't predict where they're gonna get traded.
Nope.
We're not that good at this. And yeah, and of course, always remember these are just personal opinions that Dom and I have. We may compare players' games. We may say one player's worse than another. That doesn't mean we hate anybody. We don't know any of these people personally. We're just kind of talking about their game and where we think they may go. And this is all kind of for fun. It's not to hurt anyone's feelings or anything like that. I know you're listening, Amon Thompson. I know I'm going to talk about you, and you're like, how dare he? Yeah. So, anyways.
Okay.
How I want to do this, and
yes,
you can fight me on it if you want, or you can agree with it.
We'll see.
So I originally this list had S, A, B, C, D, and I added an F tier, and I think F tier is not necessarily you're an F tier player. I think if I compare you to every other starting point guard in the league, you're not really making the cut. And how I wanted to do it in my OCD brain is I wanted to put whoever we think the top 5 point guards are in the S tier. And then the next 5 rounding out the top 10 in the A tier. And then the next 5 rounding out 15 B tier. Next 5, that's 20 C tier. Next 5, 25 D tier. Next 5 F tier. So kind of tiering it off in 5s like that. And it's not, and we could talk about, specific players if they're on the cusp, like, oh, I think this guy really is an A tier point guard. Even though there's already 5 people in the A tier, but I don't think he's as bad as B tier. I think there's specific situations we can talk about, but I'm just thinking kind of in my brain, like organizing it. I feel like that can help us almost rank it like 1 to 30. Like the 5 guys in S are some order of 1 to 5, and the next guys are like some order of 6 to 10. I just thought that could be an interesting way to approach it. What do you think?
I don't hate it, but the only thing I will say is that, if we just tackle it like each level at a time, we'll forget. Like I might say 5 players, but I think one of them deserve, so we'll move them around.
I don't think we have to go in that order. I don't think we have to go in that order at all. I think
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, cool.
that's like
I,
the
I I
end
thought
result idea.
I understand and I agree with you. Okay, I thought you're like we're gonna tackle S right now, so only S
No,
players. Okay, cool.
no, because I think it would be
It's tough.
I
That would
think we're
be
just
too
gonna look at
tough.
the pictures and be like, that guy feels like a this, and then we'll
Yeah,
look at like the final graph. And then I also told Dom earlier when we were talking about this, maybe if we kind of are like, looking at basketball reference, going back and
yeah.
referencing some stats and stuff and being like, oh, okay, now that I look at this, I'm like, I have a different kind of feeling about it. Because like we've said before, we're not super big stat guys. We don't dive into players box plus minus and defensive win rates and wars and Raptors and all these random stats that aren't those are real stats, by the way. I didn't make those up. Um,
That's wild.
and and actually, I think war is a baseball stat. It's a reference to baseball stat. Uh,
Anyway, still a random stat.
yeah.
People, well, definitely we're eye test kind of people.
Eye
We
test. We watch a lot.
watch,
We read a lot.
yeah, things of that nature.
So I
Yeah,
think we'll kind of do it based off feel, and then we'll use the
yeah.
stats as kind of a tiebreaker or something if we're kind of confused. Or
I love that. I'm just ready to dive in.
dive
I'm
in.
I'm
Okay.
honestly so excited. So you
Do you
want
just
to,
want to go in order of pictures, or
yeah, and if you're listening, just want everyone to know there is no particular order.
yeah,
They are all
this
randomized
is a
on the
random list. Yeah.
screen, random tier list, and I prefer that instead of going by team. I think it's just more fun than we kind of skipping around than like it's too predictable.
Sorry, you
So
can't find your team. Sorry, yeah, listen to the whole thing. I guess you gotta watch the whole thing. Sorry.
yeah, exactly. All right, so let's do it. Let's dive in. All right.
All right. So first on the list we have what I imagine will be the Houston Rockets starting point guard, Fred
Okay.
VanVleet, and I'm gonna on my screen real quick. I'm gonna just drag Kevin Porter and Amen Thompson to the bottom, just so I don't like you know
Oh, because they're okay. That's
because they're
fine.
not
Yeah.
starting.
Right.
So it's like I'm just gonna be like, well, they're not starting point guard. I don't think him. I think it's gonna be. I think with the Rockets lineup, I think it's Fred, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr. and Alfred Şengün. I think
Yeah.
that's probably the starting five. So that automatically puts these guys on the bench. It's not like I don't think they'll play a lot, but we're talking specifically 30 starting point guards. I think it's Fred VanVleet. What do you think? What is the first letter that pops in your mind?
So I was gonna say we should also take turns. So I'll go first and you go next, and we
Okay.
kind of do that. Yeah. So to me, right now, I want to put Fred in the D tier.
The D tier. Wow.
I don't because the thing is I'm looking at all the other ones
Yeah.
already, and I'm like I see so many, so I just
This
want to put
guy
him
was
somewhere
an
like
all-star a couple years ago.
I am not
Rockets
saying that
hater. Rockets hater.
I'm not saying he doesn't have potential to be higher or to prove me wrong, but right now when I look at other players, I could see him going up to C, but I didn't want to overdo it, so I was just gonna say D.
Okay,
But
so we're
how do you feel?
I,
What were you gonna say?
originally I looked at it and I said B, and I said, could he be the 15th best point guard? And then I said, C is fine. And
Yeah,
that's kind
so
of where I ended up.
I
Um,
see a world where he ends up in C, but the thing is, I don't even know who would be an F off the top of my head. So
yeah.
I this is just where
True.
I'm at, and we'll move it
We should
around. And
also stipulate we didn't like prepare for this necessarily. Like
mm-mm.
we talked about it, we knew the idea was happening, but we're not like I'm gonna do all this research beforehand on each and every individual player. No,
No,
we're
this is
we're going
all
off
feel.
feel.
Yeah. Yeah, and just he didn't have the best season last year. I think the Rockets will be a fun place for him to play. I think he will be better than last year.
Mhm.
And I'm excited for him to be on the Rockets. But when I'm just looking at all these other starting point guards, I just don't see. Uh, he's definitely one of the better players on the Rockets. He's proven a
Yeah.
champion, but I just want to see him in a new environment. He's only ever played in Toronto, so starting point guard in a new city
Mhm.
this year, projecting. That's
Projecting.
why I said deer. I said
Yeah,
D
I
tier.
I
That's
do
why I said
guess
it.
like I think about his role in the Raptors, and he was mostly like a shot creator, mid-range
Right.
shooter. And the Rockets already have so many of those players. Really, what they need is more of a facilitator. Hopefully, he can step into that role. We'll see.
Yeah, and I would love to see that. But that's why I said D. But he can move up to C at some point. We'll see. We'll get there.
All right, next, the guy that took Fred VanVleet's job in Toronto, former Los Angeles Laker legend who declined a 4-year, $80 million contract and then signed a veteran minimum. Dennis Schroeder. Uh,
Yeah.
I
So
guess
how do we feel, Damon? Where are we gonna put him? What do you think?
it's like I look at this and I'm like Fred VanVleet's in the D tier. Dennis Schroeder is worse than Fred VanVleet. Like that's the first thing I think. Like
Okay.
I'm like, he's not as good as Fred VanVleet as a basketball player. He's good. I don't think he's as good as Fred VanVleet. I don't think he's one of the five worst starting point guards in the NBA. So I'd say he's also in the D tier. That's where my
I
like
got you.
brain goes. What do you think?
I agree. If it was like, you're offering me Fred or Schroeder, I would probably take Schroeder just because I like his defense a lot.
That's a
And
good defender. He's just 6 feet tall.
it's not good enough for me. I just I the all the F when I haven't watched a ton of Raptors, but when I do, I don't see enough like effort on the defensive end, whereas Schroeder I do. And I know Fred is very valuable offensively, but
Mhm.
I just really do love knowing I have someone I can depend on defense. So I would probably say C or D tier as well. I would probably, but in this scenario, I would put Dennis under Fred. So I think you're good with D tier.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I think the more we
And
talk about it, let's move Fred to C. Let's move Fred to C.
okay.
I think let's do that. I'm fine with that. We'll move him around as need be. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
I do want to kind of try to end up with the five by five or 6 by 5
I
system.
want to too. Yeah, no.
But
I
it
like
doesn't
that.
have to
Yeah.
start that way. We can have
Yeah.
8 players in the C tier and then be like, okay, what are we doing here? And try to
Yeah.
figure it out. Yeah, yeah.
Totally understand. All right. So
Okay.
next.
Next is not this guy, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
Melo.
not yeah. So Terry
So I'll
Rozier is
move him.
showing
I'll move
up,
him
but
down.
he's definitely more shooting guard and not point guard, I feel like. But LaMelo is definitely going to be the starting point guard
Oh,
for the Charlotte Hornets.
yeah. Okay. Let's go to Lamelo then.
So I would probably put so Hornets aren't going to be great this year. Will LaMelo have a chance to kind of show off his skills more?
One-time All-Star
Probably,
Lamelo Ball.
which we could talk about if deserved or not. We can talk about that at some point. But but give props where credit's due. I'll probably say C tier.
Okay. C tier. In terms of ranking, would you put before or after Fred VanVleet?
After for sure.
So Fred is better.
I think Fred is better than
Okay,
LaMelo for sure.
got it.
I just think his upside's more than Dennis. That's why I put him
Of
above
course.
Dennis. Yeah, because he's
Yeah,
still
because remember
young
we are
and whatnot.
projecting.
Exactly.
What
That's
kind of
that's
jump
that's
will he
what.
take this year?
Mhm.
Um,
Again, and this is. I just want to share. This is where my non-bias comes in because to me, I like Dennis Schroeder a lot more
a
than
Laker
Lamelo,
legend.
but I do understand that Lamelo has a high ceiling and it probably will be quite good this year. So
Okay.
I'm just putting that out there.
Okay. So we got Lamelo C tier.
How
Cool.
do you feel? Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I'm because we're projecting
Hmm.
because the Hornets. I'm a little worried about their coaching situation. I think Brandon Miller. I do think as much as I a couple episodes ago talked about how I didn't like that pick, I do think he'll help LaMelo.
Hmm.
He'll give him like another like shooter and floor spacer, and
Yeah.
LaMelo will be able to work more with the ball in his hand, which is kind of what he excels at.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they got to be tired of losing. Like they have to want to
At
do
some
something at some
point,
point.
yeah.
He was
It's
injured a lot last season. Like I could see a big bounce. I could see a B tier bounce back, perhaps.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, in all these cases, I hope we're proven wrong. Like I
Right.
want them to succeed, and I want the Horns to get better. And we only time will tell. We'll see. It doesn't look at least this coming year doesn't look good for them, but we'll see. Um, so yeah, you agree C at least for now, and we'll
Yeah,
move
yeah,
them
yeah.
around as
That's
need
fine.
be. Okay, cool. So who do we got next, Damon? Who do we got next?
Okay, next we have Javon Carter, who's on here for the Bulls. And this is
Bucks
interesting.
legend Javon Carter.
Bucks and Nets and Suns legend Javon Carter. I know all the teams.
Crazy.
So it's interesting, the Lonzo Ball situation. I think we talked about Lonzo, right?
A
And
little bit,
his
yeah, in
health.
the off season, yeah.
Not playing all year. Ideally, that's their starting point guard. They signed Javon in the offseason. I do wonder if Alex Caruso will start. Maybe they want his defense off the bench. Maybe they want Javon's, a little more of a playmaker, maybe,
Mhm.
on the floor with, you know, Levine, DeRozan, and all them. So it's interesting. I feel like at the start of the year they will start Caruso, and maybe Javon eventually takes that over
Yeah.
as he gets more familiar with the team. Um,
I see that.
and Caruso's kind of more of a specialist. So it's tough. It's tough, but Javon's who we have on the chart, so I guess that's who I'll use.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of starting point guards in the NBA, he's got to be in the F tier. He has to be at the bottom.
Yeah,
Point
I
guard is
was
like
thinking,
the best position in the NBA. Point guards are so good. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and he's not a bad player. I actually like him. He's similar to Fred in a way. I think he's a good uh defender for his size, and I think he like has the potential to be a facilitator on a okay team. But when I'm looking at all the other players, like you said earlier, when I'm looking at all the other players on here, I'm like he's probably pretty close to the bottom.
Yeah. I like Javon Carter a lot as well. I didn't watch a lot of him last year, but I've familiarized myself. And I'm excited that he gets a new opportunity to possibly start. I think, like you said, like I could see a world where it's Caruso and then Javon will come in, possibly. We'll see what they're doing. The Bulls, they're interesting to say the least.
Even if it's
But
Caruso, he's probably a D tier at best.
yeah. And again, not a knock on Javon, just compared to everybody else. I see that F tier as well. Though though I hope, he in a new environment makes a jump. But he also, I just, comparatively to everyone else we've talked about, LaMelo's the only one with like a ceiling. Everyone else has kind of reached like they are like where
Right,
they're gonna be.
right.
So that's why I'm okay with this pick as well, an F.
All right. Next, Mr. Laker, I'm gonna drag him over here. You can leave it to your choice. So for our audio listeners, if you're not watching, we have our next two options are D'Angelo Russell and recently acquired Gabe Vincent. So I'll let Dom touch on who he thinks is going to start and where he's going to rank them.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Damon. Thank you. So I believe, I'm very excited to see what Gabe Vincent can do. And excited to see in a Lakers uniform, but I do believe D'Angelo Russell will be the Lakers starting point guard. I think during the regular season after the acquisition, he was really good. Playoffs left room to be desired, but I do like D'Lo's game and I like the way he fits with everyone. And I think they had that chemistry still from the season prior. So personally, I put him in the B tier. This it leaves room to be moved. Like I can see him in C, but we already have two players, so like I could see that. But I do like D'Angelo. I like him in a Lakers uniform. Um, he could move lower. I don't see him going higher than B tier, but he is a kind of a wild card because he can sometimes be very good and just make all of his shots, and sometimes very bad. I think he's one of the more hot and cold point guards, starting point guards.
Mhm.
But I do think when he's hot, he's very hot, and I think that is why the Lakers like having him. That's why I like having him on the team. But what do you think? Where were you looking at?
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't like this ranking. I don't like it. I think Fred and LaMelo are both better than D'Lo, especially if we're projecting, like you said, with LaMelo's ceiling. I think no way that D'Lo is this high. In my little brain, I think he's more of the Dennis Schroeder level in terms of contributions as a player. Um,
Okay, so let's break even. You put Lamelo on the B tier and D'Lo in the C tier.
all right, I
Because
can live with that.
yeah, because we're I and then again like I
I like D'Lo too. I feel like he
no
gets a lot
yeah
of hate on social media, from
yeah no
other
I
podcasts and stuff. Um, I mean, 2019 Brooklyn Nets. I'm loving that team all the
ice in
time.
those veins. Yeah,
So I like D'Lo. I just like, oh, B tier. That seems so high compared to everyone else here.
I get it, and I see it. The reason why I said just to move him now. I see a future where he will be moved down. So we'll play around with it, but I'm fine with him C tier as well, and we'll see. We'll go from there.
Okay, so I want to do it. We can do this quick five-person recap since we have five on. So far we have Lamelo in the B tier, and this is for audio listeners, so they can listen along. D'Angelo Russell and Fred VanVleet in the C tier, Dennis Schroeder in the D tier, and Javon Carter in the F tier. We have no S's, no A's yet.
And
Um,
I do also want to say that even though there's two players in the C tier, we're not saying D'Lo's better than Fred. There's in no particular order in the tier.
I put D'Lo before Fred because it sounded like you were saying he was better than Fred.
To me, there's no particular order because when we get
Okay.
to S, there's no way I'm going to be able to pick
Yeah,
like
yeah,
who I
yeah.
think is that. You know what I mean? But
All right. Speaking of
I
S, our next player, Russell Westbrook.
SS.
S tier, S tier, S tier. No, 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 he's not.
So I'm wearing his jersey, and
Uh,
this when I said I'm wearing something that's we're going to talk about later. This is what I was talking about. But
yes.
Damon, one of your favorite players, how do we feel about Russell Westbrook?
You know, one of my favorite players got traded to my hometown team, and he was okay. And then he was traded to your favorite team, and he sucked.
It was bad. It was bad. It was a bad fit.
And then he was, and now he's in the Clippers. And I think he actually had a pretty good second year at the Clippers. I think, especially because we're projecting right now, I think I am comfortable with putting Russ probably in the C tier. I could see B tier maybe. But my B tier projection really relies on the fact that Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George don't play basketball, and then Russell Westbrook has to like do more of the heavy lifting. And then he's like a better
Yeah,
player.
I
But
think I think we want to assume that everyone's healthy, right? Just
yeah, yeah, I do
yeah,
think
okay.
assuming everyone healthy is probably the route to go. So I would say, D'Angelo Russell, Fred VanVleet, is he that tier of player? When yeah, I think he had a
Yeah,
good
he's
second
definitely
half
more
of the year.
yeah, I agree. He's definitely more proven than both, and as more accomplished, I feel like. Wait, no, he's not. Well, I meant like he has an MVP on his belt. He doesn't have a championship,
Yeah.
but as an individual player, I mean, triple double leader and whatnot. So in that like respect, I think he's more accomplished. But again, it comes to the ceiling. Like, is he gonna be better? Is he projected to be better than Lamelo? But Lamelo has a higher ceiling, so I'm fine with C as well for Russell Westbrook. But I do think in the Clippers is a better fit and he'll have more opportunity to kind of prove that he deserves more than what he's getting. I think he's only getting like 5 million a year. I mean,
Yeah.
for a former MVP, that's not a lot.
I mean, he
So
was making absurd money for the last couple of years before that.
it was. So but we'll see. But I'm excited. Definitely.
Next,
Next, are we gonna do Jalen Brunson? That's who
Jalen
I see
Brunson.
is
Yeah,
next.
yeah,
So I am a big fan of Jalen Brunson.
yeah, yeah.
I think seeing him on the Knicks is very very cool, and I love that he's definitely elevating them as a team. And last year it started rocky, but in the later half of the season he really picked it up, and in the playoffs was very good as well. So I want to say Jalen Brunson B tier.
Okay.
And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I looked at Jalen Brunson, and I've looked at the list of players we have. I haven't studied it too in depth,
Yeah,
but looking at Jalen Brunson and looking at the rest of the players on here, like Jalen Brunson's better than all these dudes.
right.
I could see him being. If you wanted to make an A tier argument, I would be okay with it. I think he was really, really good. I feel like not a sympathy all star, but I feel like he'll get an all star this year just because of how good he was in the playoffs, and he hasn't never had an all star in his career, and he's had like countless playoff series now where he's
Yeah.
shown for his team.
Yeah, I
And I
mean,
feel like he'll finally
mhm.
kind of get that, recognition, kind of like another player we'll talk about later. Uh,
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think he did such a good job with the Mavericks, helping them when Luka was injured,
mhm,
and then with the Knicks, I mean, he got them through the first round, and then just couldn't make it past the Heat. But the Heat were this year they're really good, so it's
mhm.
tough to beat. But I see a world where he's an A tier as well. But I'm cool. I'm fine with him like being upper B tier for
Okay.
now, and then we'll
Yeah.
move. Yeah. Next, I know you want to talk about is what you mentioned one of your favorite players to watch. Yes, he has a
Yes, he has a little,
suspension,
a little bit of drama going on.
a little hiccup in his career. But we'll talk about his projection when he's back and everything.
Yes, for our audio listeners, the next player we're talking about here in our chart is Instagram Live legend John Morant. Um, 25 game suspension is tough, to start the season off. Just
Yeah.
since we're talking about this, I'm gonna move Marcus Smart down.
Oh, right. Smart. Yeah.
That's what moved. Yeah, I really think, I talked about already liking John Morant in a previous episode. I really think he's gonna come back with some like fiery vengeance. Like I feel like he's that kind of guy, like he's gonna come back
Yeah,
and show up. He's not gonna like let the narrative, in a
define him.
Ben
Yeah,
Simmons kind of way. Oh, he talked about like kind of ruin his arc, his potential. I think he's gonna come back and like be like, oh, this is what you think. How about this? Um, so I think much I like Jalen Brunson. I think projecting to the end of this season, I think John Morant's the best player on here, and I want to put him in the A tier.
I agree. A tier. I'm cool with A tier. Yeah. I agree with you. I think John Morant is one of those players who's proved time and time again that he takes time off, because of injury or something, comes back and he's like it's like it never left.
And
Um,
I meant best player so far. I should have said
yes, yeah,
that.
I was like best player ever here, A tier. I'm like, so who's S? Okay. So no, I agree with you. I think A tier is very well deserved for Demetrius. That's John
Yeah.
Morant's name. So
Yeah, this is government.
a government name. So, but yeah, I like him in A tier. He's gonna when he comes back, I have no doubt that he's gonna be just as fun to watch and important for the Grizzlies team.
Mhm, mhm.
So next, we're gonna talk about one of our favorite, I think, agreed upon one of our favorite
Yeah.
players. Uh,
Tyrese.
Kings legend, Tyrese Halliburton. And I love his game. He
Yeah.
was an all-star.
Yes.
Yeah, he was an all-star.
Yeah.
And I think the Pacers are already better. They got Bruce Brown in the offseason, and I think they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be really fun to watch. And I love his potential. His ceiling is so high. I want to say A tier.
Yeah. I was definitely gonna say A tier. I was like, if you have a Tyrese Ja argument, probably. But I do think they're both above the rest of the players we have lower than them on the chart. And
Yeah,
again, projecting, I know we said that 100 times. Even
exactly.
though,
We're
even
just
though Tyrese
projecting.
was an all-star last year, I think he could take a huge jump again. I think he
Yeah,
could be
because
like
he was
a guy, like
yeah,
really,
he was
really good.
injured like
Mhm.
for like the second. That's why the Pacers fell out because they were good.
Injured.
Wait, really? I thought he was actually injured
I
because
think
they
he
took
was
him out.
actually injured, and I was like, yeah, right,
Oh, and then they shut him
maybe you
down
should just
early.
rest that so we can tank.
Yeah. No, I that I believe. But
I
yeah,
was doing finger quotes for injured for our audio listeners.
there you
I
go.
keep doing stuff on camera, and I'm like, people are if they're not watching this, they have no idea what's going on. So
We'll get used to it and they'll get used to it and we're gonna grow. They're gonna grow with us.
I'm gonna grow
It's
with this.
fine.
We'll be like 10 years from now, and we're touring. We'll be like, oh, we remember the OGs on the Zoom days or with us when
Where
we
we didn't know that we were on visual and audio.
all
So let's talk about
right,
okay, so next we got two players that are both on this projected to be on the same team, but
yeah.
I'll let you take the lead on this one.
This is tough. This is tough. So for our listeners, we have pictures of both Scoot Henderson and Damian Lillard here. I think the ideal world is Damian Lillard is probably traded, and then Scoot Henderson kind of gets to take the reins. But like we said earlier, right now we don't know, so I'm going to go ahead and move Scoot down, and I'm going to assume, for the time being, that Damian Lillard's the guy because if he is traded, that means one of the other guys we rank is not going to be on here anymore because they're going to go to the bench or whatever. So I'll just assume Scoot is down here. I mean, I can talk about him for a second. I think yeah, he's a rookie. He's a good rookie. I think he's really talented and has a lot of upside.
Yeah.
He's probably like a D tier, maybe C tier at best for his rookie year.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is really, I mean,
it's
that'd be
good.
really
It's good.
good. Yeah.
But Damian Lillard, when I look at the list of players we have ranked, highest being John Morant, Tyrese Halliburton, I look at the rest of the players we have. Damian Lillard comes to mind as one of the guys I want to throw into S tier. Um, and he's an NBA All 75 player. This is a projection list, though. He is older. He's 32. Um, his game, though, isn't really, it's not like John Morant's game. It's not hyper athletic to where he needs the bounce and the spark. He's a shooter. I think the shooting stays even with age. Um, his defense is questionable. That's for sure. It's definitely like I could see, he has a season like I mean, he just had a phenomenal season. The Blazers were awful.
Right. Yeah.
So I could see him having that kind of season again. And then, 2 years ago he had the core surgery and struggling
Hmm.
before he had the core surgery. So it's tough. I would say I'm okay with A tier. I could see an S tier upside, but I'm okay with just kind of plopping him on A tier as well.
So I don't mind popping them in S since we don't have anybody there right now. We might
Yeah.
put him down later, but I don't mind him S tier. Damian Lillard is one of those guys before I got back into basketball and I just was watching highlights, trying to get back into it. He was one of those guys I thought I wouldn't like. It seems like he was very just a shooter throwing it up. But the more I watched his game, the more I really, really respect Damian Lillard, and I love like his game. And the Blazers have had he has no support, and he was able to kind of keep them afloat all these years. And just respect his attitude. He lets his game do the talking, and I love that about him. I think his upside is high, and it will continue to be high at least for a few this year, next year, and then maybe we'll see some digression. It's not degression, but you know what I mean. Regression. That's why Damon's here.
I'm a teacher, guys. I don't teach
He's
English.
my other half.
Actually, you major in English.
Yeah, thanks. But I see a world where he is going to be an S tier player this year. If he's on the Blazers, somewhere else, he is very fun to watch, and he will elevate the team he's on. So I think S tier for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Next we got another player you could argue. Okay, so next we got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. The Thunder have a huge opportunity to jump this year. Last year they made it into the play-in and almost made it into the playoffs. Just lost to the Timberwolves. So SGA was in MVP talks last year, which is incredible.
He finished fifth.
He finished fifth, which is great. And you know what? I like him a lot. I'm looking at everyone else too, and I see a world where he's also S tier. I think just his ceiling's high, and maybe will move one of them down at some point. But I don't see why we can't put him in S tier right now.
Yeah, for me, there's no question S tier.
Okay.
Especially because we're projecting. He just had to finish fifth in MVP. I think the Thunder are even better. I think they're constantly building their young core. He's clearly the leader of that group. I think he'll take, another step. And the Thunder finish. This is a crazy take, but like the Thunder finish in like the 6-5 seed. I think he's knocking on the MVP door again.
Yeah, and like we said, like we watched him play last year, and it was just incredible watching him play. We watched him play live against the Rockets.
He plays that 90s ball. He just run around and shoots mid-range jumpers and makes all of them. And I don't understand.
And he makes it to the rim, and he he gets the free throw line.
Is really important because we don't see that a lot from guards anymore.
Yeah, so I since we are projecting, as like you're saying, I think S tier is great for Shai. Yeah,
I'm just going to title this episode "Projecting."
Projecting. Next, we're going to talk about one of our favorite players of all time. Damon, who are we talking about?
You would say it's Harden, right? Over
Maxey?
Well, Maxey would be the 2 and Harden would be the 1?
Yeah, in this scenario, because definitely Harden was running point last year.
That's running the ball, yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about Harden, a guy we've already talked about this episode. Like we said, we're going to assume for now he's on the Sixers because he hasn't been traded yet. We don't know what they're going to get back, what guard becomes. So we're just going to go with how the rosters are currently constructed. I would say I'm looking at Harden. I'm looking at the list we have. I don't want to sound too biased. I feel like Harden, if I project the end of next season, is going to have a worse year than Jalen Brunson, which makes me want to put Harden in the B tier because I do think he'll be better than LaMelo or like on par with LaMelo. I don't think he'll be as good as Shai, Dame, Ja, or Tyrese.
You're looking at that high?
He still averaged 21, 10, and 5 last year. Like he was still a good player. Like he has some playoff struggles, but when we're talking about just like point guard,
you're right.
He's not as useless as D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, whoa, hey,
not useless. That sounded really bad.
No,
but...
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I think I'm letting biases of I don't know if he's going to be on the Sixers. How well is he actually going to try to play? So I need to just when I'm thinking about him as a player, I let's put him B tier. I personally was looking at D tier just because like his ceiling's not high. But like again, that's not everything. What it matters is how he's playing right now, not what and or like what is projected to be, so like I understand B tier,
It's
and
like
I hope for B tier. I don't want him to be.
I'll try to I'll try to quickly explain it. It's like it's not projecting like career wise, It's like when we look back at the end of this season and we say who are the best players this season, and we look and this is like the list. Not who
Yeah,
are the best players last season, because we can already do that. That's easy. Who
yeah,
are going to be the best players when we look back at the end of next season? What kind of season do they have? And I
yeah,
think spinning Harden there with Brunson and LaMelo, I feel like is relatively um, accurate.
yeah.
But next, one of your favorite guys to watch, who definitely also
I
earns point.
yeah. I'm just gonna. It's Luca S tier. Luca Doncic, Dallas Mavericks legend. S tier. His game is so fun to watch, and it's only because of him that the Mavericks have really any chance of making playoffs or anything like that right now. And yeah, I hopefully he makes that jump to MVP, like MVP voting, or at least that would be really cool. Because I know
Yeah,
in like all these 2K games, he always gets
he
MVP, like
sure does. He
legit.
sure does. And
Yeah,
I feel like the last 2 years I was like, oh, this is the year Luca is gonna win MVP. He's gonna do it. I'm ready for the Luca super jump. Even though I think he's had 5 years in the NBA, 4 years in the NBA, and like 3 of them he's been All NBA first team. I'm like, yeah, that's insane actually.
it
Uh,
is insane. Well, I think this year especially, he has it's. I think this might be the year he really turns it up. Number one, because now he's playing FIBA with Slovenia, and he's
Coming in
staying.
shape.
He's coming in shape. He's staying in that mentality. He has a partner in Kyrie Irving who has a winning mentality. Last year was disappointing, sure, but they were just trying to understand the game, like their games and teams. And I think this year they're going to be a lot better. So no question S tier, but yeah, I hope he makes that jump. It'd be really fun to watch.
Yeah. And for our audio listeners, so far the people I've moved down, Kevin Porter Jr., Amin Thompson, Terry Rozier, Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart, Scoot Henderson, Tyrese Maxey, Kyrie Irving, and now DeJounte Murray, because we're going to talk about Trae Young next. But just letting y'all know, we're not ranking those people because we ranked somebody else on their team that we assume is going to start at the point guard position, or what we assume will be the point guard. But I said I was going to do this every 5 players, and I forgot. So let me do a quick recap. So far, S tier we have Luca, Shea, Dame. A tier we have Ja and Tyrese. B tier we have Jalen Brunson, James Harden, LaMelo Ball. C tier we have Russell Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell, Fred VanVleet. D tier Dennis Schroeder, and F tier Javon Carter. So that's our list right now. We're still making our way through there, and we're gonna adjust and all that when we get done. Um, anyways, next is me, I think. Right?
Yes, it is.
It's me, Trae Young, trigger Trae Young. One of my least favorite players to watch, really. uh, Foul baiting, I hate. But when I think about him, his team, his projection, he's had one long run into the Eastern Conference Finals. He was clearly the leader of that team. His regular seasons have been good. It was kind of amazing. He wasn't invited to be on Team USA, which I thought was kind of crazy. Because they have like not to belittle him, but they have like players like Austin Reeves, who like is a good player, but like he's never been an all-star or anything. Trae Young's been an all-star and like led a team. So I thought it was interesting. They didn't even
Mm,
invite him. Because his game is often criticized. He's undersized. The way he plays is not the greatest to watch, I think, for a lot of people. He kind of has like a very cocky attitude as well. He's had trouble with a couple coaches. He's already on like his third coach in his short career. So, a lot of stuff about Trae Young. I think a lot of narratives get pushed about him. And I agree with some of those narratives. Like I just said, he's not one of my favorite players, but in terms of basketball skill and where I think Trae Young could go, I definitely think he, at the end of this season, I'm looking at the guys right here in B tier: Jalen Brunson, James Harden, LaMelo. I think Trae Young can definitely have that kind of season. Um, Maybe A tier, and that's me really trying to remove my bias of how I don't like his game, but I do think he can carry a team.
yeah, no, that's a good points. I like all your points. I think keep putting him in B is good. Um, because yeah, really when you're looking at the Hawks, like the backcourt of him and DeJounte, I think, can work really well, but it is Trey's team.
Mm-hmm.
And how far the Hawks go depends on how good Trey Young is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he definitely is still young, so he has like the time to change his game what needs to. Like, we'll see if it happens, if it doesn't. But I do agree with you that I can see him in the B tier, and I can even see the Hawks, making it possibly in the playoffs. They're one of those wild card teams. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure what to think of them, but they're uh definitely interesting. So I'm fine with that assessment.
Yeah. Next is a hard one, right?
Next is going to be tough. So right now we're looking at Steph Curry, and the thing
F
is, I
tier.
always, I always want to say he's going to regress. Like every year, I think he's going to regress. But I mean, you can't deny his greatness. Like he is like he is the Warriors. Without him on the Warriors, the Warriors don't go anywhere.
Right.
So compared to all these other starting point guards, like you definitely have to put him in S tier, at least right now. I actually, yeah, I stand by S tier for sure
I
when
look
I'm
at
looking at.
Dame in the S tier, and I'm like, if Dame's in the S tier, Steph got to be in the S tier. Steph's
That's exactly what I was just thinking right now.
he's like you said, he's like 36. Like
Yeah,
you think eventually it's gonna stop, but it seems like I feel like even the last couple of years, I'm like, this guy is he better? He's won 2 MVPs. Is he better somehow? Like, what's going on?
it is crazy, and he got a championship in 2022 last. Yeah, so um his game is incredible to watch. One of those players, when I got back into basketball, I did not like watching it.
Nope.
But
No.
he's a player. No matter what, like how you feel about his game, you have to respect the fact that he's
Trey
put the
Young
Warriors
needs
on
to
his
try to
back.
become Steph Curry.
I agree wholeheartedly, and that's why
He
Trey's in the
needs
B tier
he needs the
and
off-ball
Steph's.
movement component. He doesn't have the running around the screen, catching the ball and throwing it behind your head while falling out of bounds and making it perfectly component of his
Yeah.
game yet.
So Steph Curry's for me definitely S tier
I,
starting point guard.
I don't know if you noticed, I am a little bit as we go through. I'm trying to make placements like in terms of first, second, third from left to right per tier. It's not perfect, but I am kind of just slotting people where I'm like, oh yeah, that seems maybe, but we can talk about that later. Talk about that later.
I gotcha.
All right. Next, Timberwolves legend Mike Conley. One-time All-Star.
Legend.
One-time All-Star with the Jazz as a injury replacement. It was really like a pity All-Star. It's just kind of sad. I like Mike Conley. I think he's a good facilitator. I think he's like a base, like, all right, I'm doing the point guard stuff. I'm passing the ball. I'm playing defense. I think, in his prime, he was really good, like probably a B
Yeah.
tier and A tier point guard. Um, but never made the All-Star team. But where he's at right now in his career, he's old. He's regressed quite a bit. I would be pretty comfortable putting him in the D tier, I think.
I agree with you. That's what I was looking at too. Just because he's older, he does his job well. He's great on the Timberwolves. I think that was actually I was very concerned with them. I thought D'Lo was definitely an upgrade over Conley, but he proved that, what the Timberwolves needed was just like you said, a facilitator, a guard that does his job, and that's what he does. He lets Anthony Edwards do his thing. He's gonna let Cat do his thing. So again, this is just compared to other point guards because I like Mike Conley quite a bit as well. But compared to everyone else, yeah, I think D tier as well.
Yeah. Um, just see me over here play with the placements. Uh, I just realized Tyus Jones is out here. I guess that's who they think the Wizards. Maybe it is. Maybe it is Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole's the shooting guard.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we get
We'll get
there.
to well,
Yeah,
next.
so next we got Kyle Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he is the starting point guard for the Miami Heat.
He sure
And
is.
so here's the thing is I like Kyle Lowry, and he can, even some in the playoffs, he had some surprising games and he did do things. But at the point that he's at in his career compared to everybody else, we just have to be honest. I think he's F tier.
Man, F tier? My goodness.
It's just
Wow.
look at everyone else. Like he everyone else does more.
Yeah, I
And
hear it.
I like Kyle Lowry a lot. I really do. I don't
And we're
like
projecting
Bennedict,
for the 16th
and
time,
we're
and he's a million
projecting.
years old.
and he's someone that can move to D. But the thing is, I just want to like get a bit more like everything filled out, and then we'll move things around from there. But definitely better than Javon Carter because he's proven he's a champion. But was he a big part of why the Heat made it to the finals? No, he just wasn't. So it's like projecting next year how he is compared to other starting point guards. I I see everyone else on this list, at least above F tier, making some kind of difference on the court. Whereas Kyle Lowry is definitely more like a leadership presence, definitely like a locker room presence. Not that he's useless. I'm not
Shout out
saying that.
Udonis.
He, shout out Udonis. We'll catch you on the pod next time. But yeah, I mean, what were you looking at?
I mean, I didn't really think about it. You just said F tier, and it kind of caught me off guard. Yeah, I probably wouldn't put him higher than D tier. So it's like not even that crazy to say F
Mhm.
tier. Because like you said, there's just so much talent at the point guard position. And
Yeah, and
a lot of young and upcoming guys I think we're projecting that are gonna be good next season. Whereas Kyle Lowry is he's like 37. He takes a ton of charges. Like
yeah,
how long will he be there? And you know, he doesn't have the same quite the benefit of doubt that you can give someone like Steph and Dame who are like, you know, all time all stars and you know, whatever.
yeah, and again, like these compared to a lot of other players, like these are really good players. These are the starting point
Mhm.
guards. They are
Yeah,
good. They're proven, but just compared to everyone else, he's F
yeah,
tier
yeah.
for me. Yeah. So next we're looking at the Boston Celtics. Looks like they have two players. Who do you think is going to start for them this year?
I think Derek White's a start. Probably won six man of
Really?
the year. Uh,
Okay.
and he has injury concerns usually.
Yeah.
I think they don't want to put that amount of playing time on him, especially when you think about the fact that they have Porzingis now and Robert Williams. They have a lot of guys on their team that have some health concerns. I think you know they've been such a proven regular season team time and time again. I think the priority is going to be health going into the postseason. And I think Derek White kind of facilitator wise, I think it can help them a little bit more than Malcolm Brogdon.
I
Uh,
see that because like Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown do a lot
and
of the ball handling too. So
they
they
do a
just need
lot of ball
someone.
handling, yeah. And
They need
Derek
someone
White's
there
more
to.
of a like a spot up guy.
Yeah, they just need someone to spot up, defend, and I think Derek. I see your argument, and I understand it, especially because you know Porzingis is starting.
Yeah,
Um,
he has to. There's no way.
yeah, so you know you only want two like injury prone guys to be starting. No, it's probably makes more sense to bring him off the bench. So where do you think Derek White? Where do you think he goes?
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about Derek White and his contributions to the Celtics for the last couple of years. You know, when he was on the Spurs, I thought it was okay. But then he
Mhm.
was on the Celtics, and I thought he really stepped up in his role. I think he's played
Yeah,
a great, building like a great spot for that team where he's like such a reliable guy in their rotation. I would say, for me, looking at these players, I feel like C tier, maybe D tier, you could argue. Um, to me,
yeah.
I feel like he's better than Schroeder and Conley. I don't know if he's as good as these guys on C tier though, so I'm struggling.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. I think D tier, but above Schroeder and Conley,
Yeah,
just because it seems like he's contributing right now to a winning Celtics team. Like he definitely mattered in that run to the to the conference finals. Like he was a part of that. So I'm fine with that assessment. And yeah, I thought that was a really good trade that they got. The Celtics got him for from the Spurs. So um yeah, no, I'm cool with them on the D tier.
cool.
Okay. So
Next,
next we're going to cover the Brooklyn Nets. And it looks like their starting point guard is going to be Spencer Dinwiddie, which I see as well.
again.
Again, back again. Logu's back. So this is interesting. Because again, we're comparing to other players. So
Yeah.
like this again, I like Spencer Dinwiddie.
I like Spencer Dinwiddie too. I think he's good.
I think he's good too, but it's like, what is he going to contribute to the Nets? They're kind of in this weird stage. Are they pushing to make the playoffs? Are they rebuilding? Like they're
Without
they're
draft picks.
without draft picks, so it's so strange. So like, you know, to me, I'm just going to say F tier. but
It's so funny when you're saying it like so politely. You're like, F tier, sorry.
yeah, it's true
Sorry.
because I don't like saying it, but again, it's I like him. But when I think about
Oh
what
my
he's gonna do
gosh.
for the net, like
That's
with the
so
Nets,
funny.
like is he more of a game changer than like Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson? No, he just isn't. He's a little bit older now too, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I could see a world where he's D tier, but he's not better. Like Conley does more. Schroeder has that defensive edge. Derek White is a great role player. It's just that's how I'm looking at it. And Kyle Lowry is a champion, so I see him above that.
He's a champion.
He's a champion. He's proven.
And
So
again, for people that are listening or watching, personal opinions. We'll also, we're gonna talk about it at the end. Maybe move some people around. We'll see. Um,
yeah. Do you want to do a quick recap? I think we've gotten
oh
quite a
yeah,
few
sure,
additions.
sure. Quick recap for everybody. S tier right now has four players: Luca, Shea, Steph, Dame. That's how you know the S tier. You only need one name. A tier: Tyrese Halliburton, John Morant. B tier we have Jalen Brunson, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, James Harden. C tier we have Russell Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell, Fred VanVleet. D tier, we have Derek White, Dennis Schroeder, Mike Conley. F tier, we have Kyle Lowry, Spencer Dinwiddie, Javon Carter. These are likely, some of them might change. We'll talk about them. We'll get there at the end. I feel like the oddest thing for me so far is this drop off I feel between B and C tier. You go from Jalen Brunson, Trae Young, LaMelo, James Harden to Russell Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell, Fred VanVleet. I'm like, what?
It
Where's the in
is.
between player? Like, why is it like star, possible star guards to like, here are these guys. It's weird.
It is interesting, but there is always like a bell curve of some sorts, right? Of
Yeah.
just like of how it kind of ends up. So, we'll see how it ends up. Things might move around a little bit. But
I think the C tier is the thing I hate the most so far.
yeah, it's the weirdest, like, should they be lower, should they be higher? Everyone else is like, yeah, I kind of see, you know.
Yeah.
But so we're gonna talk about the Utah Jazz next, it looks like.
Yes. Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Yes. Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton, I like this player a lot. I've always liked this player.
Yeah.
I remember watching him in Alabama. He he had this thing. I want to say it was Colin Sexton, and I hope I'm right about this, but uh, I'm like 90% sure it was Colin Sexton. Where his whole team fouled out. So many players fouled out. There were only three players on his team. So it was like a 3v5 for the rest of the game because so many people on his team fouled out. They didn't have anyone else to put in.
And
And he was like trying to carry, like he was. I think they lost, obviously, but he was doing like really good, like a three
oh,
v
okay,
five.
okay, okay.
But I liked like he's kind of a score first guard. Earlier in his career is more of a shooting guard. But he is short. He's like 6'1", 6'2". Um,
Yeah.
and I really liked him and Garland, Sexland. That was their middle,
Sexland,
uh,
yeah.
or their middle name, their nickname. I really liked that group, and he got traded. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL, but I think he's been fine on the Jazz. When I think about him as a starting point guard in the NBA, compared to all these other guys on the list, I'm like, there's- I have to, I have to put him in left here. I think,
Wow. Okay, okay.
and I like Colin Sexton.
Right. Again,
I
we like all these
really like
players.
Colin Sexton.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is
I think
projected
so. I think the
potential.
difference is the guys in D tier, and it makes me kind of want to move Kyle Lowry up here for now. Uh, these guys in D tier help winning teams, like they help winning basketball. Whereas the guys in F tier are like good players, but not necessarily winning basketball players. Does that make
Yeah, yeah,
sense?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I see that. Um
And then like the C tier guys right now are like okay individual
they
players.
and they can contribute. Like it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like they teeter on like all-star role player kind of. Whereas like D tier is very much role player, like they are doing what they're there to do. C tier is like they could be a star. They were a star, but now like they need to prove like they're worth a bit more. And then B is like, okay, they are, you know, likely to be all. That's how I'm kind of looking at it right now.
Hmm.
So, um, I actually want you to take this next one because I haven't watched a lot of Markel Fultz, so I actually can't give an honest evaluation. I'll just do the next two instead.
Okay. Let's talk about Washington University. Philadelphia 76ers legend Markel Fultz.
Yeah.
Um, Another player that I like, and I feel like I've said that a lot of times. Maybe it's because like the NBA is such a guard-driven league, but I really do like Markel Fultz and his game. Um, I like his story. Obviously, I wish he didn't have the injuries early on in his career. Number one
Mhm.
overall pick, and kind of a couple of years of not looking so hot, and he got traded. Um, it didn't look good for a little bit, but I think he's bounced back in a nice way. He's had a couple of good seasons.
Yeah.
I think he is good. Um, I think I, when I'm looking at this list, I really have a problem with D'Angelo Russell being in C tier. So I'm like, no, I feel like this guy's better. I feel like Markel Fultz is better, but do I think he's better than Freddie VanVleet and Russell Westbrook? I don't know. Um,
Yeah. Well, we'll move things around again, but
do I think he's? Yeah, I would say Markel Fultz is like a C tier point guard. I really like Markel Fultz. I like him. I think, and
okay.
again, we're projecting. I think he could have a really good year with Paolo and Franz Wagner and whoever
And
else is on their team
Wendell.
that I can't
Yeah.
remember for
It's
the life
just
of me.
the only thing that I'm concerned about when it comes to the Magic is that they're so guard loaded right
They
now with
have a lot of guards. They got Cole Anthony. They drafted Anthony Black. They have I was gonna say they have RJ Hampton, but I think they
they
waived
have
him.
Jalen
They have
Suggs.
Jalen Suggs. Yeah, you are right about that. I feel like when healthy, of course, assuming health, Markel Fultz is typically the guy.
Yeah.
He has had a couple of minor injuries on the Magic. But I like him a lot. I like I don't think he's as bad individually as the people we have in F tier, but I also don't think he's contributed to winning as much as these people in D tier. But I think he has the potential, so that's why I want to put him in C tier.
Okay. I'm fine with that evaluation.
And yeah, like you said, we'll look at the end and move things around.
Yeah, because already like it looks like we need to add a few more to like A and
We
S
need
tier, but
some player.
some like
We have some
upside.
heavy hitters coming up, so we'll
Yeah,
get
yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly. And we'll get there. So next we got Tyus Jones, who's probably gonna be the starting point guard for the Washington Wizards. We mentioned Jordan Poole, and we think he's probably shooting guard, probably starting, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
With no Beal there, Tyus
Yeah.
Jones, Bradley Beal, Kuzma, Denny
And then
Avdia,
Denny Avdia and then
Gafford, I
Gafford,
guess.
yeah. So Tyus Jones I like a lot.
Best
Best
backup point guard in the
backup
NBA.
at back exactly. No turnovers in like 3 seasons or something. It's crazy.
Not no turnovers. He has the highest assist to turnover ratio.
I'm
So
gonna
like
stand by what I said. He has
he's
zero
never turned the
turnovers.
basketball. He this right here, he doesn't lose it. He keeps it forever.
Never. So I like Tyus Jones. He's in a new spot. He needs to kind of prove he's worthy of a starting point guard position.
Mhm.
So his potential being in a new place, not in the shadow of John Morant. I mean, I see a high ceiling for him, but it's also like in Washington. He's gonna be the Wizards. So it's like, how much is he gonna contribute?
uh,
And it's tough because I like him a lot. And I mean, I'm comparing now, just looking at the other players. Like I'm not looking at the tier, I'm looking at the players we have.
yeah.
And I probably put him like high C tier is kind of how I
Wow,
feel.
that's high. That's high.
He, because because of his potential. And I see how
Interesting.
he could be like, because I'm just like, no, high D tier. Yeah. Yeah, no, you can. Yeah. Put Derek White. So just if you're listening, so Derek White. We there was coming back and forth, and I was teetering on what I'm thinking, but I do. Yeah, Derek White definitely is contributing more than Tyus Jones, but I do like Tyus Jones quite a bit. But we do have to make these hard decisions now toward the end.
Yeah.
And next is another one. It's kind of hard for me because it's Cade Cunningham, who's definitely going to be starting point guard for the Detroit Pistons, and
He
I like
played
him a lot.
basketball.
But it's like, is he contributing to a team more than like Fred or Westbrook? And it's like it's the Pistons again. So it's like, does he have a higher upside than Derek White, Tyus Jones? It's so tough. And like, maybe if you're okay with it, I would move Derek White to C and then Cade Cunningham in D.
Okay. Um, sure.
What do you think about that?
I had a hot take ready to go for Cade Cunningham.
What, like A tier?
I thought in my brain Cade Cunningham could come in here and have a B tier season.
I agree. I'm not against that take because I want him to do really good, and I think the Pistons can. I don't think they're being talked about enough, but I do think they can make a jump. They have a lot of really nice young pieces.
I feel like
Um,
it feels like he's the guy, like
I
he's
just
they
haven't
have a lot of
seen
good pieces, but he's like the one.
but he was just injured, so I'm just a little bit worried about that.
And
But
that
I
makes me
guess
even more confident because he's nice and rested and all that. But
I see what you're saying.
no, I
Um,
mean, we can slot him in the D tier and like
well, we can
come back.
compromise and say C, and then and we can move D'Lo to D because I know you're just having an issue with that. So we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do it.
D stands for D-Lo. It's the D-Lo tier.
Oh, that's fine. But I get. I mean, like once you're comparing everybody, I'm fine with that as
And
well.
we'll go back and review it then.
Yeah.
Uh,
So who do we got next, Damon?
Next, San Antonio Spurs legend Trey Jones. Trey Jones has had some good years in his basketball career. It's a list of extremely talented players. I'm putting Trey Jones in the F tier. That's how I
I
feel about
I
that.
I agree. I mean that's the
I don't need
best
to
we
say
can
it
do right
done.
now. That's it. Now the next player
I'm
is one of
I'm
our
excited about the
favorites.
rest the next four. I'm excited about all of them for different reasons.
Okay. So De'Aaron Fox for the Sacramento Kings. This is really interesting because he's in between S and A tier for me. To be safe, I'll probably put him in A tier because we still have one more spot in S tier to go, and I just don't know exactly what I want to do. But De'Aaron Fox is a really fun game. He has elevated the Kings to be the third seed with Sabonis. Like just their game together is so good. Um, just very fun player to watch. Has a huge upside. I think the Kings have potential to make a run again this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was thinking um between B and A tier, and I don't disagree with A tier at all. And I don't know if it's too early to do this. It's really no, it is too early to do this. Looking at the rest of the list, it really was like I really like Jalen Brunson. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking. I was like, I like Jalen Brunson. Should he be in the A tier? Um,
yeah. We still have two other
but
players. Don't forget at the end
yeah,
of this.
looking at these three and then the couple we have to add. I'm like, oh, there's some good players here still. Actually, we'll see.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah, but so this one of these next players is I don't envy you because I don't know exactly where I would want to put him. So
All
what are
right,
you
so
thinking?
next player we have is Philadelphia 76ers legend Drew Holiday,
I was
one-time
gonna say,
All-Star with the Philadelphia
dude,
76ers.
New Orleans Pelicans legend Drew Holiday.
Also true, also true. Starting for the Bucks, obviously, it's tough. If I'm not mistaken, actually, I think Drew Holiday was also just an All-Star again on the Bucks.
Yeah,
And it's because people love his defense. When you ask a lot of NBA guards who their toughest matchup is in terms of guarding them, a lot of them say Drew Holiday because he's big. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He's kind of muscly. He's kind of bulky,
yeah,
and he kind of hounds them. Um, but he has definitely grown as an offensive creator too. Chris Middleton injured a lot last year. He had to take over kind of the number two guy, duties for Giannis on the Bucks, and I thought he did a really good job. They flamed out in the playoffs, obviously, against the Heat. They kind of made the unexpected run, but I really like Drew Holiday. I think on this list, if I'm taking who has the best defense on this list, he's probably the guy. Uh,
yeah,
so it's tough for me. It's tough for me. It's between B and A for me
yeah,
because I really like him. Um, but I don't think I like him as much as Jalen Brunson, which makes me want to put him on the B tier. Uh, but I think I do like him more than Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, and James Harden.
yeah. I agree with you. I think Drew Holiday is one of those players. Like it's also weird. He's a little on the older side, right? He's like 33 something.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, he's like 32, 33. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so not old, but just compared to some of these other players, he's on the older side.
But I don't
And
again, kind of like we were talking about Steph, I don't think the age will affect his regression as much because he's not
Right.
relying on like
He's
super
not super
athleticism.
physical. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's why I'm fine with where he is as well.
I kind of want to
Um,
just move Jalen Brunson to the A tier. I'm looking at the guys here and I'm
uh,
like, eh,
I'm looking at the guys there. I'm like,
I don't know. I don't know about that one. What about that guy?
So next is Jamal Murray, and I
Yeah.
think he had a phenomenal season last year, and
You
I
think he's
mean
better?
just NBA champion. I
He's
do
better
think
than all the B tier guys?
I think so.
Interesting. That's so
I would
interesting.
I would put him A tier in all honesty. I think he's better than Trey Young. I think he's better. Jalen Brunson's a tough one because I do think they're similar. Like to me, like not obviously they do different things, but to me they are like
How
both
many All-Star
instrumental to
games
their
Jamal Murray
team.
has made?
Jalen Brunson hasn't made any.
He sure hasn't.
Yeah,
I was just asking you if you knew.
no, no, no. I know
Um,
he hasn't, but I just I think he came back from the
Interesting.
ACL tear,
I mean, he had,
and
I don't disagree. He had a great year.
and
Um,
I think he's gonna have another great year. I think him and Jokic are gonna have they have this great chemistry together, and um, I think he definitely elevates the Nuggets to a championship team. Like you have Jokic on your team, you're a contender. But are you a champion? I mean, they haven't been champions. They weren't championship champions without Jamal Murray. So it's like that's I see him as A tier. I do think he's better than everyone in the B tier that we have right now, personally.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see this is really tough. I like him more than Trey Young. I think that's easy.
Yeah.
LaMelo, I think I definitely currently like him more than LaMelo and Trey Young. Can both of those guys take a big jump? Maybe.
Right.
The Harden situation's a mess, so I'm also comfortable putting him above Harden. Brunson and Drew Holiday is where I struggle. That's where I struggle.
Look, it's tough. I'm not saying it's easy. Like like to me, they're all kind of the same. They all mean so much to the teams they're on right now in different capacities, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm just looking at okay, Nuggets were just champions. So like I feel like he just wants more. You know what I mean? Sure Drew Holiday might be wanting to prove everyone wrong because they got eliminated the first round. But I just feel like personally, look, I'd be comfortable putting them all in A tier, but we're not doing that, you know? We're
yeah.
trying to
I mean,
fit
we
them in
could.
this
We don't have to
box.
do the 5x5 format or 6x5 format. We don't have to do that. Um, we could change it up.
Yeah, but let's go over the last few players and then we can kind of move some things around.
Yeah. So next on our list is Darius Garland. Darius Garland is really good. Um, he's had a couple of really good years after starting his career off slow. And I'm looking at the list, and he's easily at least an A tier. And I'm like, is he better than everybody on the A tier? Is he gonna be that guy to that extreme amount? Is he an S tier point guard? And it's really hard for me. I think Darius Garland's better than Jamal Murray. I think he can be better than John Morant. Tyrese and De'Aaron, I struggle. That's where I get to my struggle. So
Yeah.
I think he's definitely he's not lower than A tier. I don't think I could even go to B tier. I think that would just be rude. I think he's so good. You don't think he's that good? I see your face. I see it in your face.
I think he's to me, I would pick Drew and Jalen over.
Over Darius Garland?
Yeah, I would.
What? That's crazy. That's
Look,
crazy.
I really I we say this about everybody. I really like Darius
I
Garland. I
like
like his
that player.
game, and I like what he does for the Cavaliers. And I'm glad, they kept him. I know they got rid of Sexton, and I like Sexton too. But it's
You think Darius Garland's a B tier point guard?
no, I compared to everyone else, I think
A
he's a
B
B tier.
tier?
Okay, let's get one thing straight.
You
Compared
think
to
he's an 80 out
everyone
of
else,
100?
compared to everybody else that on this list, sure. But this is your pick. I mean, put him in A tier. You're
I'm
fine,
putting him in
dude.
A tier. I can't put him in B tier. That's
That's fine. We're gonna talk about it.
we're
We
gonna
got we
talk
got
about it.
we have two more players that we have to fill out
Yes.
that S tier. We got to fill out the F tier. So
Okay, let's
um
we know the last two players are Bradley Beal and CJ McCollum, and neither of them are F tier players. So before we do that, can we figure out who to put in F tier from the D tier?
so
Who's the worst player here?
to me, I think it's Kyle Lowry because that's what I said, F tier. You moved him
Yeah.
to D tier without consulting me. I just want that on the record.
Do you think Kyle Lowry is worse than Mike Conley, Dennis Schroeder, Tyus Jones, D'Angelo Russell?
I do. At
I think
this
he's worse than
point,
all four of them.
next year, I think he will be worse than
Into
them.
next year, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're projecting, Damon.
We are
Projecting.
projecting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Um, okay. Which means for now I'll move Derek White back down. So
Okay. D for Derek.
yes. So I think it's your player. I think we should do CJ first.
Yeah, let's do CJ McCollum because I've watched quite a bit of Pelicans basketball because of Valanciunas and everything. So CJ McCollum is a really good basketball player. I like him a lot. I like what he did for the Pelicans. I thought when he went to the Pelicans that he was just going to go there and they were just going to be the worst. You know what I mean? Like I thought he was going to go. Think the expression I said he's just going to go there and
Die.
retire. Yeah, die. That's my words exactly. But obviously he's not going to die. But like I'm looking at everybody, and I think he does contribute a lot to the Pelicans ball and like what I see from watching him, and I'm fine putting him in C tier.
Yeah, I think he plugs very nicely into the C tier player. Russell Westbrook, Markel, Fred
Yeah,
VanVleet, Cade so far. I think it's like, oh yeah, that seems about right. Let's see. For CJ McCollum, because he's on the Pelicans and that team used to be the Hornets, I'm gonna use the picture of Terry Rozier. And I'm putting
sure.
Terry Rozier as CJ McCollum right here in the C tier because we don't have a picture of CJ
Okay.
McCollum.
All right,
Uh,
and now you are going to cover our last player, Bradley Beal.
Real deal Bradley Beal, who is not a point guard, but he's playing point guard for the Suns because they have two shooting guards basically with him and Booker. I think it's
Yeah,
interesting that they announced Beal as the point guard because I feel like Booker has had some success as a
yeah,
facilitator with Chris Paul and his team.
I agree.
Um, so I think that's interesting. Um, Yeah, look at the list we have. We still have an empty slot in S tier. We're gonna have a battle over, I'm sure, over who to put up there. Uh, I
No,
don't think it's
no.
Bradley Beal, that's for sure. So
Yeah, I
uh,
also agree.
I don't even think Bradley Beal is better than all the B tier players. So what I'm thinking is one of our A tier players move up in the S tier, one of our B tier players move up to the A tier, and then I think Bradley Beal probably plugs nicely into the B tier. Uh,
I'm totally fine with that. Let's talk about
I'm gonna use
who
the
we think.
picture from Monte Morris because he's on the Wizards and Bradley Beal was on the Wizards.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about who's on A tier and let's make a case for somebody to go to S tier.
Let's eliminate first. Okay.
Let's eliminate. You want to push someone?
No. Like let's say who's not going to the S tier.
Oh, okay.
I think you don't like Garland. I don't like Murray.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is
yeah.
our S tier.
I knew that was happening. I knew that, and I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with that.
The other three I could see an argument for. I think I'm going to eliminate John Morant just because he's not playing a quarter of the season.
See, and I was going to eliminate Tyrese because he's still like getting under in the Pacers. Just like he still has to have new players. Like, and obviously he could be S tier, and he has the potential. Is it going to happen next year? I don't think so.
Big De'Aaron.
Maybe.
This is so interesting. We're debating former Kings teammates right now.
Yeah, and I mean I love them both. But like you have to look at what De'Aaron, I think he just wants more, and he broke. I could see De'Aaron in S tier. I can,
Okay. I'm okay with
and
that.
yeah, I mean because like I said, like I honestly, if maybe without the suspension or something, I would put Ja there easy. But the
Yeah.
thing is that that's the reality we live in.
Yeah.
And he has to deal with that. He's not getting in our S tier because of decisions he made. So
Who do you think out of the B tier would move up to the A tier?
I mean, I will. My vote's
It's
for
between
Jalen
the
Brunson.
Yeah, I think it's between Jalen and Drew for me.
Yeah, that was what I
Just,
was.
but I'm okay with Jalen. I've been talking about moving him up this whole time.
Yeah,
uh, so I thought he had a really underrated year. Okay. Um, I say we do a little bit of maybe ordering just a tiny bit of a
Okay.
clear,
Yeah.
concise, like, oh, this player is definitely like the best of this tier. And then
And also
and
recapping
then
who's in what tier,
yes,
like
exactly.
finally.
And
Yeah.
then we'll end off. We'll say
Cool.
go into the sunset. It's 11:45 p.m. for me.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So right now in S tier, we have Luca, Shea, Steph, Dame, De'Aaron Fox. Again, we decided to do I'm sorry, 6 tiers, 5 players each. So it may feel weird for some people to be like De'Aaron Fox S tier. Well, he was the fifth guy, and we put him up there.
Yeah.
But let's talk about order. Let's talk about order. I think we're projecting in the next season. I think Luca 1, Shea 2 is good.
Yes. I was gonna say I like the 1 and 2 a lot right now.
I think Steph will still be really good.
I agree. I also like that as well.
4 and 5, I could see a debate.
Yes, that's where it comes down to is again, like we're talking about projecting as teams are right now. So Dame is on the Blazers,
Right.
and so against Dame and against De'Aaron, like it's tough because Dame is proven, right? He is an all-star. He has taken his team many times into the playoffs. Is he going to take the Blazers into the playoffs this year? Is he going to take somebody else? It's tough, but I think I'm okay with Dame being 4 and De'Aaron 5.
Okay.
And I say that only because he has proven himself time and time again. And I think next year is not the year when it's going to fall off. Like I think he still is that guy.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I'm okay with that.
yeah,
So, yeah, okay. Cool. We'll recap the whole list then.
yeah.
Okay, so our A tier right now: Tyrese, Halliburton, John Morant, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland, Jalen Brunson. This one's much harder for me than S tier. I'm looking at it,
I
I'm like, this is what? What do I do with this?
Can I say one thing first?
Sure.
I think John Morant is at the front of A tier.
You think he's the best player on here?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I really like Tyrese, but Ja is definitely more proven.
Yeah,
The suspension hurts, the off court stuff hurts, but in terms of basketball playing, yeah,
yeah.
I can see that. I would say out of the remaining guys, though, I do think, projecting the end of next season, I think having Tyrese for me, it would be between Tyrese and Garland. Um, but you're a Garland hater, it sounds like. So
You can put Garland in front of Jamal Murray. You're good.
I sure do want to do that, I must say.
Yeah, that's okay.
Uh, I'm very happy with this order right here.
Yeah, I like that order a lot. I think it makes sense. So we got John Morant first in the A tier, then Tyrese Halliburton, Darius Garland, Jamal Murray, and Jalen Brunson. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next we got B tier.
Mhm.
At the front of the B tier, we have Drew Holiday, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, James Harden, and not Monte Morris.
Bradley Beal. It's
Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal. Right? I even forgot. Okay, cool. So this order I want to change a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think?
So I think Drew Holiday, uh,
Yeah,
being the best, I think is good,
I
and
like
then I
Drew
think
Holiday a lot.
I think I do want to put. This is tough for me. It's either LaMelo or Bradley Beal.
Next,
Yeah.
interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
You think they'll both have better years than Trae Young?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Well, okay, now that I think about it, um, oh man, it's tough because now Bradley Beal's with the KD and Book. It's like it's
Yeah.
tough to like exactly determine like it's gonna have a better year. But I would at least switch. Oh my god, I don't know. Okay, okay. Since I am blanking a little bit, what do you think?
Um, I'd be okay with putting Harden in the back. I think that's not too hard for me to do. He's had some okay seasons, but especially with whatever is going on with that right now,
Yeah,
I don't know how he's gonna play next season. Like, I'm okay with all these guys being in front of him.
yeah,
I don't think it's like super disrespectful or anything. I think you
Yeah.
could argue he's a better player than them, but in terms of who's going to look better at the end of next season, I think it's fine to have him at the end of B tier.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
cool with that. Yeah.
and then I would probably say this picture of Monte Morris that I'm holding for Bradley Beal. I feel like I like it right here, but really that's because I think it's really hard. So the hard thing here, we have Drew Holiday over here, who's a clear number two, number three on this team.
Yeah.
And then Trae Young and LaMelo are the guys; they're the number ones. And then Bradley
Right.
Beal's like the number three. So it's tough to compare their roles and how they contribute to their teams in that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Especially because we haven't seen Bradley Beal contribute to the Suns. We don't know what his
right.
contribution is going to be. Yeah.
I do think, however, that Trae Young will be better than LaMelo.
Okay.
Where I put Bradley Beal into that equation, I don't know. Does he go in between them? Does he go after him? Does he go before him?
It's tough. Yeah.
That's where I'm struggling.
But I'm fine with this order the way it is now. I see a reason like for how where everyone is right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And I do agree with where they're at on that B tier compared to everyone else. So I think it's
Yeah.
cool. So next we got C
Next we have a
tier.
we have a drop off. The first
One
15 point guards are amazing, and then after that, I don't know what happens.
it's interesting. They're definitely more like role players.
Yeah,
But so C tier we got Russell Westbrook, Markel Fultz, Fred Van Fleet, Cade Cunningham, and CJ McCollum.
who is a
But the
picture of
picture
Terry
is
Rozier.
Terry Rozier. So so I'm assuming like Kawhi and Paul George are healthy and everything in this
Sure,
equation.
sure, sure.
Assuming everyone's healthy. I don't hate Russell Westbrook up there because he is proven and I like him on the Clippers. I do probably want to put Fred next though.
Yeah. Okay.
Um
Friend for what
again I
now? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
A lot
again I
of
haven't
guard
seen Mark.
minutes.
Yeah. And then like I would probably put Cade and CJ in front of Markel, but this is where you need to come in because I haven't seen a lot of Markel Fultz. So
And I'm okay with putting Cade at the front of this tier. I like Cade Cunningham. I
yeah,
think he'll have a
put him at
good
the
year.
front. Put him at the front because
Because again, he's the
his
number one.
ceiling, his
Yeah,
ceiling's high. Yeah,
he
yeah.
has more to do than all these other people.
I get that. I do.
CJ, I don't know, man. He's like the third best guy if Zion's healthy, right? Zion, Ingram,
Right.
CJ. Valanciunas still gets the ball. Herb Jones. I mean, the team could be so good if they just play
I
basketball.
know all
Uh,
together too, man. It's so upsetting. Don't remind me.
so it's tough. It's like it's weird that he's even the point guard because I don't really look at him to be a
Yeah,
facilitator.
because he's still like a two in my eyes to Dame,
Yeah,
right? It's just weird.
it's I don't know. I don't know where to put him on this tier. I'm like here, here.
In front of Markel. Yeah, it's weird. I'm fine with putting Fred in front just because I think he'll have more chance on the Rockets just to kind of show off. Fred will definitely be like the number one option.
Hmm.
So I'm fine with that order because again, if you're fine with putting Markel at the end of C tier.
Yeah, that's okay
Okay.
with me.
So yeah, so we got C tier Cade Cunningham is a really nice ceiling. Got Russell Westbrook, Fred Van Fleet, CJ McCollum, and then Markel Fultz. I see that. Yeah.
All right, D tier. We got Derek White, D'Angelo Russell, Tyus Jones, Dennis Schroeder, Mike Conley. All pretty good guys that fulfill their role on the team, mostly facilitating defense for some of them. All kind of on the older side. They've kind of already hit whatever their peak is going to be, most likely.
Right.
Um, it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm looking at the list. I'm like, is this the right order? Is it the right players? I don't know.
It's tough. You know, I like Derek White where he is because I think he was important for the
I think
Celtics.
Derek White is the best player left on here.
I agree. I agree. So I think where he is good. And then
Mhm.
from there, I could see a world where you would put maybe like Mike Conley higher, like
I feel like
either
Tyus Jones is going to be worse than all these people.
Yeah, I was gonna. It's what I'm saying. It's like I see a world where also Mike Conley might be above Schroeder because I feel like he is going to contribute a bit more because he facilitates and defends, whereas Schroeder is really just defending. He's
Mhm.
fine facilitator, but like um D'Lo has room to be desired, of course, but I do like his fit for the Lakers where he's at. And he's younger than Mike Conley, so I'm fine with this order that you have. But what do you think?
Yeah. I kind of want to move D'Lo over.
I
I
know you
should
do.
have had Mike Conley.
Well, let's break it even and put him behind Conley.
Oh my goodness. Because I think about like the Lakers playoffs, and I'm like, who contributed more to that team? D'Angelo Russell or Dennis Schroeder?
Look,
And I
look,
think
I'm
it was
not.
Dennis Schroeder.
But the second half of the season, who helped us push into the playoffs to play in the first place? D'Lo.
Yeah.
He was a big part of that. So that's why I am okay with this, but I wouldn't put Schroeder above D'Lo.
Yeah.
It's the only reason
Then
why.
we have Tyus Jones at the back end, just projecting, I guess, that he has a pretty decent season this first time as a starting
He's
point guard.
starting. Yeah.
Um, Good, ball handler, whatever. There's definitely guys in the F tier that I'm like, those guys better than Tyus Jones. I don't know. He's never started. Or projecting
Yeah,
is hard.
exactly. It's all projecting. So like if we're projecting, like I think everyone on the F tier right now has shown what they would do as a starter. Whereas Tyus Jones, I could see a world where he is better than them. So
Mhm.
that's the only reason why I'm okay with this staying the way it is. Like I like Kyle Lowry a lot, but he's the best player on the F tier right now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just comparatively, and I'm looking at it, and um I would probably put Trey Jones last and Javon Carter above Trey Jones.
Okay.
Um, but besides that, I mean, what do you think? I think besides that, I'm okay with it. But
Yeah, it's like part of me wants to move Kyle Lowry up, but part of me also wants to put Colin Sexton in front of him because we're projecting, and I like Colin Sexton as a player, but I also
right,
think his playing time will be in jeopardy with some of the rookies they drafted.
yeah,
So rebuilding, so it's hard. Dinwiddie's down here, which is like that guy's a good basketball player.
yeah, he's great.
That's
Like
so
these are
weird.
all good. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we got to. I think it'll be much easier when we do like centers or something because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel
That's
like it'll
gonna
be like,
be.
oh, the first five are amazing, and everybody else after that don't matter. Uh,
They rebound and that's it.
yeah, so it's hard because it's like, wow, we have some good players here in the lower tiers. I'm okay with this order. I'm okay with this list. I think this is a solid list.
Very cool.
So yeah, a quick recap for everybody. I'll go in order. So we ranked from if you somehow you skipped to the end of the podcast, we ranked from S tier to F tier, 30 starting point guards who we think is going to start for each team. S tier, we tried to do it in some sort of order. So we have Luca, Shea, Steph, Dame, and De'Aaron Fox as our top five in S tier. Dom, you gonna do A tier?
Absolutely. A tier we have at the front, Demetrius Morant, or Demetrius John Morant, either way. Tyrese Halliburton, Darius Garland, Jamal Murray, and then Jalen Brunson.
And then going into the B tier, we had Drew Holiday, Trey Young, LaMelo Ball, Bradley Beal, represented by a picture of Monte Morris, and James Harden.
C tier at the front, we have Cade Cunningham, Russell Westbrook, Fred Van Fleet, don't tell CJ McCollum, represented by a picture of Terry Rozier, and then Markel Fultz rounding out C tier.
And then D tier, we had started off with Derek White, Mike Conley, D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, and Tyus Jones.
And the final tier, F tier, we have Kyle Lowry, Colin Sexton, Spencer Dinwiddie, Javon Carter, and Trey Jones.
Tyus Jones' brother, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
They
yeah,
look kind
that
of
that
similar.
is our projected, I'll say it for the 67th time, rankings of point guards for when we look back at the end of this upcoming season. How did everybody do? This is our kind of projected order in terms of player skill and the seasons they had.
You gotta save this so we can compare it at the end of
I
the season.
am. Look, there's a little save button right here. Wait, I'll
Perfect.
save it. I'll save it right now on stream. Sydney starting PGs 2023, 2024.
Uh,
Please, if you did listen to um this podcast, if you watched on YouTube, on Spotify, please let us know, agreements, disagreements. What do you think we got wrong? What do you think, we put a player too high, too low? Anything like that, that feedback, very useful. We want the engagement with our audience. And we are definitely going to be doing this for shooting guards next time. And, we'll kind of go in that positional order. And we'll tackle all the starting players in the NBA prior to the season starting. I think we'll have done it all.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll definitely get there.
So that's exciting. How did you feel about that, Don? Did you like that? Do you think we did a good job? You think?
I think we did. I think we did a good job.
Did you have fun?
I did have fun. We have compromises in there, and I'm fine with them. And I think it's a pretty solid list. I'm really excited to see like how the season turns out, and then how to look back on it.
Go back
I think
and
it's always
compare.
fun. Yeah.
Jamal Murray's like the best point guard in the NBA. Like, see,
That's
I told you.
I knew it. Darius Garland wins MVP. Like, oh, I should have seen this. Oh. But yeah, no. This is really fun. I'm excited to do the next round.
Yeah, I enjoyed that more than I thought I would.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun breaking it down.
And definitely one of the longer episodes we've done.
It's midnight. I officially missed my Duolingo lesson. Luckily I have streak freezes, but I have like a 325-day streak on Duolingo. So,
definitely don't want to mess that up.
I will cry if I mess that up.
No, I won't let you.
You're a good man.
But again, thanks for listening, everybody. Let us know what you thought of the tier list and anything else that happens you want us to talk about. We got to do Damon's shot real quick.
What happened last time?
You hit the backboard,
right?
At
the rim. I almost made it. It rolled off.
Okay, really so now remove your arm after you do it.
So I did it last time. No.
I'm just saying it every time.
Stop!
Okay.
Don't say it every time.
All right, here we go.
I know, Dad.
Damon is winding up for the shot.
I'm winding.
So if you're listening, it went a little bit to the left of the hoop, but that's why you still have 20 more episodes to prove me wrong.
Yeah, but before episode 25, can I do it? The backwards basketball shot. It's tough, man. It's tough.
I know it is. That's why I didn't.
I'm looking at myself in the camera. I'm like,
what is up? Which way is down?
I don't understand.
But yeah, again, thanks again for listening to D&D's two-man game.
We will be here.
What? We'll be we'll be back here next week, and yeah, look forward to talking more hoops.
Should I have a sign off? Should I go like? Should I say buckets every time?
Mine is, and that was the word, y'all. It's my sign off.
That was the word.
That was the word, y'all.
Or like the last time you said D&D's two-man game, and I didn't say it with you. You can say it's D&D's two-man game, and then I'll say buckets, and then we'll end.
Okay, let's do it.
Or should I say it with you? What do you think?
I think I do it, and then you say buckets. I think just like true to the jingle. True to the jingle. The jingle and the outro. But the outro is done live on every podcast from here on out, from episode 5 on out. It's D&D's two-man game. Buckets.